Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the office hours, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to the office. Hello and welcome to the office hours. I am Messy Hair Paul. I need to get a haircut badly. And I am your host here at the office hours. This is where you can come talk to me about anything you want. AMA, baby. This is a live stream that I do on Twitch and YouTube at the same time. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, come join us live on Twitch at Thursdays at around 8 p.m. Central, which is about 9 p.m. Eastern, for some Q&A, baby. I'm going to start doing 2 of these in the summer when I'm a little bit more free. I'll be doing this on Thursdays. I'll probably do it on Tuesday. But Tuesdays will be probably more reasonable time for those of you who live in Europe. So, how y'all doing? Glad for you to come on there, Detonator. So, today we're going to be talking about a couple topics. I'm going to be doing I'm going to do another experiment pull out, another capsule, which is going to be talking about we're just gonna go over the Q&A for the Expanse. Like, should you buy it? You know, what should you expect of the Expanse? I've also started working on a video for Starfield because it was confirmed as of a leak today or yesterday, with a lot of people backing up the veracity of the person who was leaking, that Starfield has manual flight controls. Apparently they suck. Glad to hear that there, Hourglass Images. I'm doing good. How you doing, Q-Pen? Any luck with 317? Nah, I haven't tried yet. I don't bother trying to play that until I start streaming or get close to start streaming. I heard that there's a latest update though. All right, I'm going to pull this up. Because this is an example of why the community is kind of dumb. Like, really fucking dumb. I can find the original post. We saw this last night, and I was just kind of like, "Fuck, what?" And so I trolled somebody. All right, move this over here. Those of you who were on Discord last night saw what I did. Slightly desaturated. I can change that a little bit. The problem is that it keeps getting reset after a long period of time of being off. And then the brightness, maybe. I got the saturation way up. It just doesn't seem to be doing anything. That's the wrong one. That's like maximum saturation. A little red there. Really weird going on with like my. I'm gonna hit OK, and then I'm gonna go back into my filters and fix something. That's fine. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, the community obviously knows more about the devs and the server versus client performance. Yeah, we're going to talk about that, yeah. Manual flight is different from what's in Star Citizen, right? We don't know. I'll talk about the leak when we get a little bit further in, but I'll give you the basic gist is that a former dev explained, because they just recently left from Bethesda, they explained what was going on. They had some interesting takes, which all seemed very devy. And then everyone's like, dude, you're breaking NDA if this is actually real. And he's like, this is not, everyone already knows this stuff. Like, why are you talking about this? And then he deleted his account on the website he was posting on. It was like, oh shit, he didn't know it was breaking NDA. Yeah, but there's also some announcements there. I'm gonna do a full-blown video update that I'll release tomorrow for Starfield, since it's separate from y'all who are watching this for Star Citizen purposes. But if you're watching this after the fact, hello. Again, this is a live stream, so this is going to be probably 2 to 3 hours long if you look at this on YouTube. It's not. I'm probably not going to do many timestamps for this, just because it's not going to be helpful. All right, so let's talk about the server versus client performance. And this is one of those situations where we had this kind of conversation before where everyone kept blaming the netcode for performance. And eventually the net guys came in and were just like, there's no such thing as netcode, and the netcode has nothing, there's nothing wrong with the netcode. Shut the fuck up. Because again, community doesn't really know anything. And this is, I'm going to preface this by saying, I don't really know this stuff. And neither do you. I don't care if you're a professional dev who does this sort of thing for a living, because if you're a professional dev who does this thing for a living, you know that every application and every situation is independent and different. If you don't have firsthand knowledge of what's going on, you can only guess at what's going on, even if you have experience. And there were some weird takes that I saw people take, which is like, don't trust anything CIG says, they're always lying. And it's like, what? Oh, the leaker you're talking about, Mad Titan? Yeah, I hope he's fine. It seems like it was an honest mistake. Because the way that he was arguing on the forums is like, this is fine. What are you talking about? This is all common knowledge. And then realized that none of it had been confirmed yet. So he's like, fuck. So he probably contacted the legal HR back at Bethesda and just like, listen, I fucked up. I didn't realize this. And they're probably just like, you're fine. Just delete the shit. Delete your accounts. And then that could be incriminating. I don't know many people who worked at Bethesda, but from the people I do know who worked at Bethesda, they're not super bitchy about that sort of thing. How can you trust the paid dev? Trust me instead. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's take a look at this. All right, so this was a post from Sharman, who asked, hi there. Not sure if I chose the correct tag. So let me, so no, if I should correct that. I'm wondering if you guys already have an idea of how well Star Citizen will utilize multi-core CPUs in the future once Vulcan has made it into the PU. Right now, the highest IPC wins, as far as I understand, because of the current limitation in 2 primary threads. Currently, I assume the i7-12700K or i7-12900K will be the best CPU for Star Citizen due to the high with the umlaut. Oh, you know someone's European if they're posting that. Due to the highest IPC currently available. What I'm wondering is if let's say a core monster like 5950X, which is still good IPC, will rise and shine in the future of Star Citizen because of the high core count, or will we see a certain amount of cores will bring performance increase while more cores are just idling? Is there a known expected limit on what a multi-core utilization is possible for Pseudostar Citizen? Of course, I understand that it won't be possible to say that the CPU will be better, but I would appreciate an indication what Vulkan might be able to do. So, this is obviously not talking about server performance. This is talking about overall performance. And I think Ali Brown is actually talking to somebody else in this who's responding, because I think they just said it doesn't really matter because server performance will affect your FPS more than anything else. And he posts, server performance does not affect client performance at all. This myth has been around for so long purely because they tend to be correlated. I.e., if the server is dealing with 50 spaceships in an area, then the clients are probably dealing with a good percentage of them too, depending on locality. But there is no direct link. And if you had a supercomputer, the frame rate would be unlimited/unbound. This discussion, this post sparked a ton of people, and I mean a ton, basically saying, CIG is lying to your face. They're wrong. I've experienced X, Y, or Z. I'm right. Some ridiculous post. I'm gonna read it for you just because I'm a jerk. I'm sorry, but you're wrong. I've tested the server for 50 people on a server and tested with 10 people and gotten better FPS, regardless if there are players on the server. As I'm being at 000 chord, I have tested even when the same servers, when the server dies out over time. It stops people from joining said server and becomes more and more stable, the higher FPS. I would love to see your proof on this matter, with 50 real-time players in the same server and 10 real-time players in the same server. I'd love to see your proof in this matter, other than that, just your word, as if the CIG does not play their own game to know this. I'm just going to break this down for you. This man claims to have been able to test on a 50-man server and a 10-man server, and then also watched it as players joined and left the server, and then also did so at 000 coordinates, so in the center of the sun. He's even tested on the same server, that same servers, while the server died out over time, and then it stopped people from joining, and then became more stable at higher FPS. That's some weird fucking server performance, my dude. What the fuck are you doing on a server that's doing that? And how are you so observant about this? Needless to say, I actually prodded him, say, do you have any proof that you actually did any of this? And he just said no and refused to post it. So the way you get to 000 is like log out of a server and log back in, and sometimes you can fuck up and end up at the center of the sun. Does Crusader have an exploration ship? No. Do I think the chance of CIG putting together in game? I mean, everything's going to get exploration ships at some point. Yeah. We got started 17 minutes ago. All right. So Ali Brown continued to say, the confusion in this thread is due to a misunderstanding of a point that might seem splitting hairs from one perspective, but absolutely crucial from another. I repeat my point. The performance, i.e. the frame rate of the server, does not directly affect the client performance. If you had infinitely fast server that could run 1,000,000 FPS, your client FPS would totally be unaffected, but you'd get less lag. Conversely, if your client PC was infinitely fast, then you could run 1,000,000 FPS regardless of whether the server was running on a potato. However, the obvious reason the server would run slow, other than that they were on slow hardware, is due to the load placed on it. For example, entities count. And that load also has an indirect cost on the clients. And that's your correlation between the two. What he's saying is that if you're in an area that has a high number of entities that your machine has to render, both the server has to render it and your client has to render it. And both are going to struggle with the current model. But your performance on your machine is not linked to the performance of the server. It's linked to your machine's abilities. Am I auditioning for Frozen 2? I am. Because I'm frozen. Let me refresh the camera. Here's the refresh. It's weird. It's not letting me refresh. Hold on. There you go. In a perfect world, the client would only receive increased load when they're close to areas causing high load on the server. For example, you near lots of other players, and most systems is likely to be the case, and 100% true for all rendering systems. However, there is also likely to be some systems / costs that scale up even when far away. To use a really bad example, a chat service would scale based on player count, not locally. Though I'm certainly not suggesting that chat system would actually have any noticeable effect on FPS. Any such costs that scale up regardless of distance are a major issue and something we obviously want to remove / limit / optimize, and I'm sure other engineers are looking at those outside of my area. So if a server is under high load, then being near a hotspot is going to increase the load on your client, and being further away will decrease it. But as I highlighted above, you still probably have worse performance than others on an empty server. This can be improved and doesn't require the server to run faster, only that a lot less systems place a load on the client. This confirms everything that you've all been saying above. P.S. A gentle reminder that I post here in my spare time to try to show appreciation for all you backers. Let's play nicely. Ali Brown. And then he director of graphic engineering, and crosses that out. Just a man on the internet. I love it. I love it. Ali, I'm sorry you have to deal with idiots, but welcome to my world. Oh, I love my community, but every so often someone slips in and I'm just like, oh, did you wake up today and just born today? You think I'm just an idiot? Oh, it's for answer for FPS. So the basic gist is your client is going to have performance issues in areas that have high loads because your computer has to render it. And any computer that has a better system, that has a beefier system, can handle that, which I can prove because I have a upper middle, tier PC, and I have always had better performance over the last couple of patches than most people do. People often come on when I'm playing the game and comment, how the fuck do you get such good performance? And the answer is, I have a pretty beefy CPU in my computer. Plus, I also have a decent GPU. I have way more than enough RAM, and I run it on an SSD, which is a M2 SSD. And my RAM is configured specifically to run Star Citizen better. So I optimized the shit out of my system to run Star Citizen, and as a result, I get better frames. It also works for the other computers and other systems as well, but that's the point. And so I get better frames, and what's bottlenecking me is mostly just my own performance and also the renderer, like the rendering in and out. Hey, what's up, Craiklin? So it's important to decentralize these two issues. Number one is the Gen 12 renderer is a client thing, as far as I understand. The Gen 12 in Vulkan is a client-side application. It may have some applications to servers, but it's mostly so that you don't have to render in and out things. And as that gets improved, as we've seen with Gen 12 starting its process being added into the game with 3.17 and 3.18 and beyond, every iteration is going to improve your performance overall. And so those with higher end systems will start to see much better performance, regardless of the server. Hey, Max, thanks for the Prime sub. Am I still doing Event Horizon mode? How am I doing, Paul? How's your RAM configured to run SC better? All right, so it's 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, and I specifically picked, I forgot the name of it. I did a bunch of research before it, but someone was, the people I was talking to about it said that I needed something that would boost speed, if I remember correctly. Let me... remember this. Cast latencycy latencycy. I bought one that has a cast latency, a CL of, I think it's 16. One that would reduce 16 or 18. Something that reduces sending read command to the RAM and time when data is available. It's measured in absolute time in nanoseconds, NS, as well as clock cycles. I think I had 16, yeah, 16 casts. Hope that explains a little bit. And I found that the amount of RAM and that latency was important for performance. I did research by asking Darj and other people. That's still research. Flash of clock rates? Yeah, I think so. I think so, but at the time I was DDR5 was still very early, and the one I wanted was the stuff that I was configuring for was DDR4. Vulkan is a different API, latest OpenGL like DirectX, but with different architecture that allows for some optimization. CIG thinks will further performance boosts. Yes, that is. I know that, but the question is more: is that a client-side performance boost, or is that a server-side performance boost? Because I know how the renderers are supposed to work in context. In general, I just don't know which side of the performance aisle it's sitting on. Thank you for that. That 5 months of Twitch Prime there, Vader. Question: How much time can I still playing Star Citizen with my 3070? Do I need to upgrade more? I have a 2070 Super and I do fine. Right now, the issue with Star Citizen is not your. In fact, let me. The issue with Star Citizen is not your graphics card. It's your CPU. But as Gen 12 gets added, your graphics card is going to start taking more load, and your CPU will. The different cores will start taking more loads of that kind of stuff. Going for 16 and 32. It may have just been the 32. But based off of my experience, I went from DDR3 to DDR4. I was trying to hit for this sweet spot and it seemed to work. Star Citizen run Neuralink in 2042. Yeah, when it reaches beta. Is i5 1660K good for Star Citizen? Yeah, I think so. I'm an i7 1170K. So it's 11700K, which seems to work pretty good. No, I don't think it did it end right now? I think it ends next week. Let me double check. Oh no, it ended. Here, let's draw the winner. And the winner is... All right, I'm going to double check this person. Because I see there's a lot of details, so I want to make sure everything's good. Markan24. Uh, 16 is required, but 32 is what you need. Congratulations, Markan24. I'll message you on Discord, because I think you're on my Discord, and let you know. Question. That emotion support ship question from Captain's Table. Initially asked as a joke, but are you happy to take it as a regular question? I mean, I think it's been asked multiple times, but yeah, it's fine. I run Star Citizen in a moment on 64 gigabyte, 64G. Hope you don't get a new computer on. Oh, you're talking about gigabytes of RAM. Okay, yeah. I regularly see my client using 18 to 32 to 24 gigabytes. I tend to use, it uses a maximum 19, but that's also with the OS and stuff like that. And Windows is heavy on the OS. Does anyone notice that Star Citizen PT317 seems to use CPU more? Yes, Tycon, it does. That's it's a lot more performance is kind of focused on it. Someday I want to try to run Star Citizen on a RAM disk. Any clue when 2017 is going to drop the live? When it's ready. It's 2 hours. I have a 1660 Super, an i7 9700F, and 16 gigabytes of RAM right now. I'm looking at getting, okay. It looks like that's a pretty good one there. Axis. Is that for some non-tech questions? Feel free. I still think we'll see Drake Mule with a live release. Not this, not for 317. I think we'll see it for 317.1. Yesterday's when it'll drop, yeah. Sounds like you need to just increase your gigabytes for your RAM. Your RAM and your, I mean, yeah, I would say your RAM, everything needs to be improved right there. Your RAM is nice, but it needs to be a little bit higher. Your biggest bottleneck right there, Remion, is your Ryzen 5 2600. That's probably a little low in terms of specs. And your you said you had a 1050 Ti. That's probably on the lower end too. I would say your graphics card and your CPU are the biggest ones. Your M2 is fine. Your SSD is fine. And your RAM is okay. But I couldn't tell you. I'm not that technically minded. I missed that there, Titan. Thank you. Just in case you missed my response, Vulkan is a client-side API and impacts the client-side performance. Thank you. Do I think science gameplay will resemble Minecraft for enchanting and potion making, even if crafting possibly modded weapons and gear with buffs? No, I don't think science gameplay is going to involve buffs and crafting. Science gameplay is for science purposes. What you described is called crafting, which is something that CIG has mentioned they want to do, which is different from manufacturing. They want, they used to do overclocking desks or something like that. It was like a workbench, I think was what it's called. You could buy, which would allow you, which they hope that CIG hoped that would eventually allow you to overclock and kind of craft with that bench in your hangar. Follow-up question, could science gameplay be more focused on combating outbreaks and diseases? Possibly, but I think it's mostly just going to be research. You need to download more RAM, yeah. By the way, the new Ryzen 5800 X3D seems to be killing Star Citizen, giving around 20% more FPS in the PTU 317 than any other CPU. Yeah, I've seen that. Hey, Tyler. To be honest, I don't think it's wise to get any CPU that's not supporting DDR5 nowadays. Yeah, probably a good idea. I don't know about the RAM on my system. That's probably, your megahertz is pretty low for the 32 gigabytes. Is that a DDR3? Again, I am not the right person to ask for those details. All I can tell you is what my experience was, and I can tell you that your performance for your machine matters more than than you think for your FPS and such like that. Other question: is there interhuman racism in Star Citizen? Not that I can tell. It's a little more difficult in Star Citizen because you're talking about 1,000 years in the future. And there seems to be a lot more, I would say, jingoism in the sense of nationality. And nationality being like what star systems you're from. Because it's really a melting pot, humanity, because people just kind of went out all over the place. So you have people with very different cultural names who look very different from either culture that they're supposed to be. You know, their whole... everything is different. Feel free to ask them, Jordan. That's fine. If you're asking questions. It's more likely to see something sort of a divide between like Terra and Earth, and the people who will side on Terra's side versus Earth's side. People who side on Terra's side tend to be the people who are living on the frontier, who are living further away from Earth and see Earth as more of a backwater that sort of mattered in terms of our history, but doesn't really matter in terms of today. The people who back Earth tend to be the people who live in the, quote, Western Empire, areas that are closer to Earth that tend to rely on them a lot more, and are afraid that if the centralization of power moves away from Earth, then they will lose power and protection. I mean, when we talk about racism is a concept in sociology and history and politics and such, which it's usually centers around ethnicity and skin color. And in Star Citizen, they're like, both of those concepts are kind of hard to pin down because people can have different ethnicities and skin colors often in the same planet, and they're a lot more reliant on one another. There's much more of a multicultural aspect of the Empire in Star Citizen than there is than you think. So it's less racism and more, I guess, nationalism and it's not even anti-immigrants. It's hard to say. It's just like they don't like other people from other planets. It's not like, oh, you look like you come from Terra, boy. It's more like everyone kind of looks the same, or looks, the same but different. But how you dress, how you speak, what kind of food you eat, that sends you out. So it's more ethnic persecution than anything. The culture rather than the skin color. There's definitely speciesism, xenophobia for sure. Tevarin get absolutely dumped on 24/7. The Xi'an aren't very well liked, and the Banu are not disliked, but definitely untrusted. And my system is better than your system. My planet's better than your planet. Yeah. Astrophobia is more this. That's more like fear of stars. I don't know what you'd call that. It's difficult to kind of quantify it because it's much more similar to, like, for instance, back in medieval Europe, France and England fucking hated each other. It'd be like that, but you don't really see that sort of stuff. Vandu will just skin you alive. Oh yeah, there's also classism, for sure. Agoraphobia is the fear of outside, isn't it? Maybe ethnophobia? Or ethnism? Do I think we'll see that nationalism or xenophobia in the game will be instanced the NPC interaction with players? Definitely. Oh, for sure. The way the CIG wants to do things, yes. I can almost guarantee you if you make your home, because they've even talked about this, about making your home in a certain place or like making your origin point in a certain place will affect your reputation, which will affect how NPCs deal with you. I also assume that the way you dress will also determine how people deal with you. So if you're dressing in fancy Terra digs in a place like Magnus, you might get shit on for being a slick city boy, effectively. You say that England and France still don't hate each other. I mean, not to the same degree as fighting hundreds of years of war against each other. Ethnicism is a thing. So yeah, there you go. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I don't know what to call it. So the closest would be things like, the Romani and ethnicism. Ethnicism, yeah. Arachnophobia. Now you're just putting shit together there, Mad Titan. Something happened to my beers. All my beers are gone for some reason. Yes, I wiped all your beers on Sunday. All your beers get wiped on an active basis every week. So is the UAE just all English now? Yes. No. Except for what is it? Except for Bremen. That's all Texas. All right. I hope you like some Consolidated Outland, because we'll get you your hover quad. You buy Consolidated Outland? It'd be cooler if you did. Quick question. Have you seen Markiplier in Space, his new YouTube original series? And what do you think it resembles that happened to the Artemis? I have not. I did not watch Markiplier, so I don't know. So nothing important then? Phantom. Paul, is 317 live close? Yeah, 2 hours. 2 hours, Agent. 2 hours until 317 goes live. Confirmed. I'm not fucking with you. Totally not. CO's gonna buy Spectrum, too much free speech. Question, who would be the Elon Musk equivalent to Star Citizen World? Oh, it's definitely, why am I blanking on his name? Silas Kerner, the owner of Consolidated Outland. He is Elon Musk. Like, down to the freaking, what is it? The space pickup truck that they made, which is basically a Tesla, the Cybertruck. With Bezos, it's hard to tell because there is a Amazon equivalent in Star Citizen, but we don't know anything about it. They're called Voyager Direct, and since they removed the Voyager Direct store from the website, we haven't really seen Voyager Direct yet. I think eventually it'll be coming back into the game because Voyager Direct is effectively the Amazon where you can buy anything and have it shipped to you. Nomad, thank you. The Nomad is effectively the Cybertruck. Do I think Stompy Mechs will ever get in small power, get the small power armor / Titan suits? Yeah, I mean, no, Alcinor, I'll say no, but I would hope so. In lore and in practice, the problem with Star Citizen's military powers, like say the UEE Army, the Navy has a purpose. The Marines have a purpose. The Army does fucking nothing. And it makes no sense for the Army to do nothing and still be a branch of the UEE military. So it has to have some purpose. And traditionally, armies are designed for massive, big, like large scale engagements on land surfaces. And in order to justify something like having an army in the world of Star Citizen, you need to have something that's equally massive to defend or attack these planets. It's not just Nova tanks. I would love to see big stompy robots in Star Citizen. It makes sense. It makes sense in terms of the aesthetics. It would make sense in terms of the type of defenses that you'd want to build, especially against people like the Van Duel. Having something that's big and stompy, even if it's like not a bipedal robot, but like a quadruped or, 6 legs, would make sense. No, the Cutlass Steel is still way overpriced. My opinion of this Cutlass Steel does not. It's definitely way overpriced for the cash. It's fine for the price. It's actually cheaper than the Cutlass Black in game, which is fine too. It's about what I expected it to be. It's garbage, and I love it. In lore, the UEE army is an occupation force. Sort of. They're also a strike force. When Idris IV had to be retaken, the army was the one who took it, not the Marines. You know, you send the army in when you need to reclaim something, or when you need to occupy something. What about powered exosuits? Yes, those already exist in Star Citizen. They're called the Titan suits. I don't think you'll see Gundams, but I do think you'd see something like the six-legged walkers from the Clone Wars, from you know, the Clone Walkers. Something like that. Something that's kind of lower to the ground that has more mobility. Or stuff that's maybe like the size of a small bipedal mech from, say, Mech Warrior. Yeah, Marines are the first in and the first out. UE Army is there to stay. Yeah. The Marines are a much smaller elite force. You send the Marines in like a scalpel. If you need something taken out quickly and with as little loss of life as possible, you send in the Marines. If you want to smash somebody across the face with a sledgehammer and then just keep hitting it until their face is mush, then you send in the army. That's kind of how the UEE works. And the problem is that the army is not really a sledgehammer. It's just the Marines, but less elite and more people. Which doesn't really make sense. Then just why not have the fucking Marines? And then just have a spec ops team that's Marines. So I think what you do is you need something like the army has artillery, like heavy artillery, massive guns, huge armored, you know, strikes. Just, it needs to be something that you use as a wrecking ball. Yeah, you're like the mining drone thing with legs. The freaking thing was right creepy. You're talking about the Grey Cat Cygnus bot. Yeah, mining bot. Yeah, like 3 to 4 stories tall. That's small. I would like to see what we currently have is Titan suits, which is about 7-8 feet tall. I'd like to see a slightly upgraded version of that that's more pilotable, that's more maneuverable. That's like 10 to 12 feet tall. And then like a big heavy stompy bastard who's like 20 to 30 feet tall. How about PMCs? The UE use those kinds of services all the time, especially if they need to supplement their own forces. I don't think we'll get Titans. I think the biggest we'd get is something like Knights, but probably more like Knight Armigers from, or Warhounds from 40K. I think what we need effectively is Titans from Titanfall. That kind of scale. UE military is rather, UG is rather big, so there must be a corporate military with their own special units like their own spec ops, spec knots. Of course there are, yes. Drop pods for the infantry. There are drop pods for the infantry. They're called nails, and they're used by the Marines. Nails are effectively a metal casing that you strap yourself into, and they fire you down to the planet. And the metal is strong enough that it withstands the heat of re-entry, and you just get shot straight into the ground. Metal Warriors. I don't know what that is. They're BDG. Have you seen any Arma 3 Star Wars gameplay, and do you think the battles will ever get as grand as theirs? Oh yeah, for sure. Are those mostly local militias? What do you mean? Or Lost Planet 2? Yeah, Lost Planet 2 is another good example. Sometimes see educating people with feature on the pick concept art. What are you talking about, Max? Cascadian, we just need the Marauder suits from Starship Troopers. Give the ones in the books that it has the jump jets and the armors and the gills with guns and explosives. Yeah, or the mechs from the books for like the Marines in Expanse. The Martian Marines had their own mech that they used as well. Or like I think effectively the scale we're looking for is something like the mech suits from Avatar. That's kind of the scale. We were talking about the Titan suit. About what in the Titan suit, though, Dakota? Oh, we're talking about, like, where it is and the size? What and when is the next event? Next event is during Invictus, and it's apparently a hostage rescue situation. Corporate military groups that handle the outer edges of the UEE. I mean, there are militia who do that, but not all militia. There's definitely some corporate entities that serve as kind of protection, as kind of like security forces for larger corporations. Sometimes they'll be hired by the UE to deal with, local problems. Major Revolution mech suits. Yeah, something like that. Yep. Star Citizen does have its own version of ODSTs. Which is, if you ask Tree, I don't know if Tree Sand, but Tree 00, I can't remember his full name. If you ask him about it, he has been foaming at the mouth for it. But apparently, we will not get access to nails in as a civilians. Vector and Avatar are probably the closest analog to concept Titan suits in Star Citizen, seems to me anyways. Those are much bigger. Titan suits are about 8-9 feet tall, and you wear them like power armor. And the ones that you see in Avatar are like 10 to 12 feet tall, and you sit in a cockpit and pilot them. Question, Star Citizen might not, but do you think Theaters of War will have mod support? Probably. Civilians will have access to everything if they try hard enough. Well, the answer is you're not going to find them because they don't add them to the game. Hey, heroes. I wonder if there'll also be mech suits used for industrial purposes like an Alien. I think that's the idea, is that the Titan suits will have multiple purposes. At least I hope. More than just for simple military use, but for, salvage, mining, and, transport. Question, is Invictus on Orison? Yes, it's going to be on Orison. Yes, the FPS is worse there, but the 317 has had a massive improvement for performance overall. What is called the Argo MPUVC? MPUC. What are you talking about? That is called the Argo MPUC. Repair Titans for putting those multi-ton components on destroyers. Yeah, I mean, you can see that. Question, so toilets RP only? No, apparently, Kenny. Last we heard, because the CIG actually answered my shitty question. Last we heard is they still haven't really decided on what they want to do, but they do definitely want them to have an effect on your hygiene gameplay, which will affect your performance and your reputation and stuff like that with civilians, which probably will include pooping. When is Invictus? It's in June. Hey, Black Tuburn. Jordan asks question: If we got the Clone Wars 6-leg walker, do you think that alone could bring many Star Wars fans to the game? It probably would. And also, effectively, what I'm saying is take a Cutlass or a Freelancer, chop the engines off, and put some big fucking legs on that bastard. Then you got yourself a fucking mech, a walker. Question, do you think the final part of ISC was the Squadron 42 vertical slice? No, the final part of Squadron 42 of ISC had more to do with exploring tight caves and it's probably more likely asteroid caves. Don't think anyone has asked, but is there anything in Star Citizen that's like a lightsaber? Not really. The closest we have is Plasma Blade, which is or something kind of like a plasma blade, where instead of having like a bladed edge, there's like an electric or some sort of like energy conductor that goes along the edge. So it uses the like energy to cut. It's it was a promo gift that you got if you were at CitizenCon 2018. Yeah, the Vandal also use a plasma lance, which is it's like a Jaffa stick weapon, but it also uses as a spear. Yeah, like the Elite Battle Angel Blade. Yeah, Demon Fang. Thank you. Yeah, the Demon Fang. Invictus last year started in mid-May. Yeah, I'm sorry, May. I say June, May. June is Alien Week. I got those two confused. Do I think we will get stun gameplay this year? Hard to say. I'm going to err on saying no, but I don't think it'll be too far away. I think maybe next year. It depends on if it's needed for Squadron 42 or not. That's the other big thing. If you looked at the monthly report, or not the monthly report, the roadmap roundup. Whew. Ooh. Well, we're losing even more people to Squadron 42, ladies and gentlemen. Which is good and bad. It means that there is definitely more Star Citizen teams moving to Squadron 42, which means don't expect the star map this year, upgrades this year. Don't expect significant FPS and ship components updated this year, at least not until it gets into Squadron. How come I'm not reading questions from YouTube? I am every so often. Just not your questions, Execute. Do I think this year we'll get... Yeah, I guess that's a question. Will players ever be able to board and take over a Bengal carrier? Yes. Don't expect pyro. I would not say don't expect pyro. I would say be hesitant about it or cautiously optimistic about it. But I wouldn't expect it. Lots of Squadron 42 work does translate to Star Citizen 2. Yes. It's also important to remember that Squadron 42 and Star Citizen are the same game. I keep saying this every time I say this, but people don't believe me. Squadron 42 and Star Citizen are the same game. They're built in the same engine, they use the same assets, they use the same code. They are the same game. To the point where when Squadron 42 runs on your system, it will spin up a server inside your computer, and then your player will be the client inside that server. It works in the same architecture as Star Citizen. They're the same game. The differences between them is Star Citizen doesn't have the same kind of bespoke assets that Squadron 42 does, and Squadron 42 has cutscenes. That's pretty much it. Surprise BMM release for Alien Week? Nope. So, as a result, anything that gets into Squadron 42 goes into Star Citizen. However, it takes 3 to 6 months for once something is added into Squadron 42 to add it into Star Citizen. That's why to keep those things in mind. Squadron 42 will not have full co-op at release. It will eventually be patched in later. £10.42 he did a video on what? What's Dakota talking about? Oh, we're talking about the performance thing that he did. Yeah. Question: do you think once Squadron 42 is out, we'll see Star Citizen ramp up due to all hands on deck for that? Yes and no. I think when Squadron 42 ramps up, we're going to see a lot more. Star Citizen itself will be a little bit better, and I know there's two problems. Number one, Squadron 42 and Star Citizen are the same game, but Squadron 42 has to be built from scratch alongside Star Citizen. They're both being built from nothing, effectively. So when Squadron 42 is finished, it will be done. So they won't need to rebuild the engine for Squadron 42 Part 2. They'll just have to add new things. And those new things are going to be developed for Star Citizen. Those new aspects of the game will probably be like prototyped in Star Citizen first before they get moved to Squadron. So I wouldn't be surprised if Star Citizen gets more focus for once Squadron 42 comes out. But I also wouldn't expect Squadron 42 to just be dropped like a hot potato right afterwards, because there'll be people who work on bug fixing, the inevitable bug fixing and other performance improvements they can make after the fact, just because you're never perfect. Monthly report is not out yet. The monthly report comes out next week. The roadmap roundup was out, and the roadmap roundup was the one that talked about how 3 of the major teams. In fact, let me pull it up so I can tell you exactly what teams that are moving over to Squadron. The vehicle tech team is now the Arena Commander feature team because, for those of you who don't know, Firesprite, the team that was working on Arena Commander and on Theaters of War, was bought by Sony several months ago. And so I predicted, and a lot of people predicted, that once Firesprite's contract was up with Star Citizen, they would drop the contract because Sony probably wants to reevaluate all the contracts that their new company had. And obviously Sony doesn't want to work with Star Citizen or CIG unless they could work out some sort of exclusivity deal with Sony or with the PlayStation, which obviously no one at CIG is probably willing to talk about that yet. They might do it, but they're probably not going to do it yet. So as a result, they took the vehicle tech team and turned it into the Arena Commander team. We'll be focusing on Arena Commander, Star Marine, and Theaters of War. Now, the vehicle feature and vehicle experience team are both moving to Squadron 42, and the UI feature team is also moving to Squadron 42. They added, and let me put this up, AR and Star Map system rework is going to Squadron 42 first. Seethe. For all you people who are like, I want a new star map. You're not getting one. Not until Squadron 42 has it. Doors / airlock / light panels UI, which is, UI stuff. This has been moved to the Squadron 42 UI feature team. Moby Glass rework is getting added to the UI feature team. And the visor lens rework is getting added to the UI, to the feature team. All right, let me go back to look at some questions. Do you think the next part of Squadron should be bartender revenge, the fight for coffee? Yes, coffee. Question: which ships do you expect to see at some point this year, other than the Scorpion, if any? The Banu Merchantman towards the end of the year, and I expect to see the whole sea at the end of the year. Probably more land vehicles. I wouldn't count on the refinery coming out, but it could. I don't think what else. We'll definitely see new vehicles, but... question, will we need a refueling ground vehicle? I think we need a full service ground vehicle at some point, so yes. Question, do you think Squadron 42 will be a blockbuster hit akin to the Halo series or Mass Effect without going to console? No, I don't think it's going to be a blockbuster hit. I do not think it's going to be Call of Duty version 2. I think it'll do very, very well because it's got a lot of big name Hollywood talent attached to it that people will be interested in seeing. I've listened to the audio. I have spoiled the shit out of it for myself. I know all the twists and turns, and I will say it is not a fantastically written story. It's in the sense of like, it's not going to win a fucking Oscar. But if you're going in looking for an action movie that you can play, that'll enjoy, and it has nice little drama twists and such, it's going to be pretty cool. It's got humor. It's got action. It's got adventure. It's got intrigue. It's got different, drama between the various characters and conflict and an overall conflict. It feels like a TV series. It feels like a good TV series. And I think people will buy into that in the similar way to Mass Effect 1 was popular. Not that it was super popular, but that people were looking forward to the sequel. So I think it'll be a commercial hit. I do not think it'll be a massive, record-breaking, shattering hit when it releases. I do think that once it releases, Squadron 2 will set the bar, which is already high for many studio for future releases. I think it's the way it's being developed is a different, the way their approach to making the game is very different from what you see. I hate to say this because it evokes the wrong ideas, but think Elden Ring. But it's not Elden Ring in space. It's like Elden Ring and Mass Effect and Wing Commander had a fucked up baby that was really, really, really coked out. Honestly, I want the new NFTs more than StarMap. I feel you there. BMM by the end of the year, that's kind of wishful thinking in my opinion. I think the Corsair would drop earlier. It might, but the Brandon Merchantman's been under production for a long time, and CIG usually releases one big ship a year. The Brandon Merchantman has been having that attention given to it. So I think by CitizenCon, we should see the Brandon Merchantman out. No, not seeing the Orion. That'll be the next Wing Commander. That's the best way of putting it. Like if Wing Commander was a TV series, more or less. Yeah, but not the Wing Commander TV series. That was garbage. I'm getting this completely wrong, but I thought Squadron 42 was coming out in episodes. No, it's a single game. The episodes are 3 episodes, each episode being a game. Chris Roberts, when he talks about the game, does not understand the way that modern games releasing. So when he says episodes or chapters, he is thinking like movies, not like episodes like we saw with Hitman or Telltale Games. You're not going to get 10 hours of gameplay and then 2 months later another 10 hours of gameplay. Episode 1 or chapter 1 of Squadron 42 is a full 40+ hour game. And then there's going to be a sequel, which is going to be chapter 2 or part 2 or whatever. Like Pepsi coked out or like drink coked out. Yes. Question, do you think Clone Wars style boarding action would be popular with more cap ships coming to the game? Yeah, for sure. It's hard. So Squadron 42 is not open world, but it is open world. Squadron 42 says, hey, this isn't part of the game, but this is just an example. There are citizens trapped inside that burning wreckage that's being attacked by pirates. Save them. There's no hand-holding. There's no, follow this blinking marker. It's like, they're somewhere in that fucking wreck. Good luck, son. Save them. And you can approach it in many different ways and attack it in many different ways. Do you take out the pirates first? Do you sneak by them? Do you EVA out? Do you go into the ship? Do you go hand to hand? Do you try to scan to where the civilians are? Do you activate fire suppression systems before you get there? It's you. The way you approach your end goal is up to you, but there is a goal. Question, how? I'm not answering that. It reminds me of the Thief game. It's much more akin to something like old school RPGs, and that may be the influence of people like Tony Zervak, but it's definitely like Chris Roberts was not shy when he said that a lot of his ideas for Star Citizen Squadron 42 came from Demon's Souls, the original Dark Souls, which he liked the fact that it was challenging but not punishing. And he liked that idea that to give a player an experience that they had to work for and earn. He does not want to handhold you, but he does not want to beat you in the face repeatedly. That's very on brand for the lore behind the in-game Squadron 42, so that's kind of neat. Yeah. Effectively, that's why they created that lore for Squadron 42, where they're like, here's your end goal, good luck, son. Question, do you think Star Citizen's penalty for failure, permadeath, lost progress will be turn off for new players? No, because the permadeath is not permadeath. It's this semi-permadeath. You won't really lose progress either. You only start experiencing that after dying multiple times. And hopefully by that point, that's fully implemented. We'll have things like brain fart. Things like Arena Commander and Theaters of War to help train people. Looking at games like Horizon or Forbidden West, I haven't played it. Senua's Saga, The Quarry, The Devil Inside, Starfield, Callisto Protocol. The quality of visual story acceptance is very high. Squadron Protocol will probably match them. Based off of what I've seen and heard, yeah, probably. I don't think Squadron 42 is ever going to be a photorealistic game, but they're not looking to be photorealistic. They're going to attach a style and kind of try to make it as least uncanny valley as possible, but still make it look good. We passed the we know more than the dev segment. Yeah, we passed that segment where the devs were right and y'all were wrong. There's citizens in that burning wreckage. Save them. You forgot one final option. Not saving them. Just going up next to the wreck and watching the fire roasting the marshmallows. That is probably also an option because this is Chris Roberts' game. So you could probably fuck up entirely. Question, what would the Star Citizen equivalent to the Clone Wars drop ship? The Valkyrie. Also, do you think the ship will be more resembles the future? No, I think the Valkyrie is what you're asking. The Valkyrie even has the side doors that open. Whatever happened to Operation Pitchfork? A long story. I think it's still being planned, but it's in hiatus. How's Jack doing? Much better. His last pain meds was a couple of days ago, and so every so often Cam and I will come by and see him, and he'll just be loafing on the bed and just be like, I'm not moving. And Cam and I both think that it's probably that he's sore as fuck from the surgery, and now that the pain meds are gone, he's still kind of like ow, ow, ow. So he doesn't like moving too much. But every time I see him alone, he's super active. He's like meow, 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 meow. So he's doing good. The cone may come out tomorrow or Saturday, depends on what they tell us. What are you most looking forward to this year in Star Citizen? Better reputation? Reputation mattering more? Yeah, Operation Pitchfork is not going to happen until we get Vandal territory. That's a good way to put it into you, yeah. Question, my friends make fun of me because I say the best type of gameplay is systematic gameplay. Thoughts? So you say systematic or systemic? And by systemic gameplay, you mean emergent gameplay, using the tools that you have available to create your own story. Still no word on that UAE search and rescue ship? Nothing yet. Or haven't heard anything like that. We definitely need something like a military ship. I think it's up to you. I think systemic gameplay is probably is going to keep Star Citizen more fresh and unique down the line than the regular gameplay. But I don't think most players will accept systemic gameplay initially. Most new players will stick to the quest systems and doing the missions they've been given, rather than finding jobs or doing things on their own. But I think as players become more bored with those options and are looking for other things to do, then the systemic gameplay stuff will start creeping up. What's my biggest gripe with Star Citizen development this year? The fact that everything's focusing on Squadron 42, so I know it's going to delay, but CIG is so fucking scared. They're so paranoid about telling players that we just can't focus on Star Citizen because we need to get the fucking Squadron 42 done. They've said something to the effect, but they haven't been very blunt with the community, because they know if they're very blunt with the community, people would lose their big boy diapies and start throwing shit everywhere, because the Star Citizen community has well, it's not everyone in the community, there are very vocal shit-throwing members of the community who have the mentality of 5-year-olds. And like those people will throw a panic attack anytime something bad happens. And if they were told the actual reality of those things, it would be far more fucking trouble than it's worth. So they just stick with what they do. I wish it wasn't. I wish they'd be more frank to us about some of these things, but that's just the way it is. Hey, Rolo. To be fair, the community has been through a lot. I would argue that half of the things the community has been through, the community put itself through. I continue with these jarred hitters, hard hitters. The first time a long time I've seen Country Live. It's fine. It's like the problem I have with CIG is that they are so fucking scared to scare people or to hurt people's feelings that they are often more tight-lipped than they should be and won't never admit that they're wrong. But, you know, CIG is run by a bunch of humans, so they're going to make mistakes. But I'm sure their legal team and their PR team is just like, never admit the mistakes. Never admit mistakes. Because that's just a highway for bad PR and press. Even though I think it would go a long way for helping people feel more at ease. Like, oh yes, CIG is run by humans. We shouldn't be angry because Jerry needed to see his goddamn kid be born, which is why we can't see server meshing is delayed a patch. Like, you know, we should be humans and go, yeah, we get it. These things happen. Enjoy the baby. You know, hope everything goes healthy. Hope you have a healthy child. Like, that should be the normal response. But what's going to happen is people will say, fuck the kid. Why didn't you hire more people? Blah, 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 blah. And then lose their goddamn minds over it, which is, again, it's not worth Jerry's health or anyone else's health for that kind of reaction. So the point is, there's no excuse these days for a game to look like crap, play like crap. The problem will be picking the gems from the DOS. Squadron 42 will be a decent gem, but Star Citizen will be an awesome one. Yeah, I think Squadron 42 is going to be good. I think the Squadron 42 is going to be good if they manage to market it the proper way. And CIG's marketing team seems to be kind of revving up the engines for it. So, right, pitchforks and torches. A good example: the fucking coffee. New employee was working on trying to take what they already had and trying to use the tool to make something new. They did. It worked. They're like, great, and they put it in the game, and everyone shat on them for it because it came out the same announcement as a bunch of other stuff. And it's like, that guy had no control over when it was being pushed. That guy or gal had no control when that was being made. They just finished it. It was their first thing they did for Star Citizen. And the community absolutely memed the fuck out of it. Like, no, I get that, Omega. You're right. That's definitely CIG's mentality. That Star Citizen is considered vaporware by scam by a bunch of people who don't follow the game closely, and any admission of failure by CIG just reinforces their misinformed narrative in spite of everything that is currently playable. Exactly. That's why CIG doesn't do it. I understand why. I just feel like the community that fucking matters, not the idiots who are shitposting on the internet, would feel a lot better, and you'd have a lot less screeching fests from them if they were more honest. But I realize that my complaint about Star Citizen is also a complaint about the community, but they're inevitably linked. That coffee shop was definitely a let's see what you can do, kid. They even said it. It was this person's first job on Star Citizen. It was there like, you got hired, here, make this coffee vendor, you know? Are the people speaking so negatively about it actually playing the game? Most of the time, no. Or is it mostly people who became impatient? I would say that there's a cross section. There's people who've played the game who are frustrated with the game, who usually break down into people who really want to improve the bugs or the performance issues, and people who played it once, fell through the planet, and decided that they have, for the rest of their eternity, can screech about how Star Citizen sucks. Then there are the people who bought the game and are waiting for something to come into game, and they're just getting impatient and getting angry and throwing shit. And then there are people who have no invested interest in any of this and are just wanting to throw shit and piss off people because fuck it, it's fun. Or they bought into the idea, and there are also people in that group who bought in it for this ideal, and then they became like dissuaded. And then because they became dissuaded, even though Star Citizen continued to succeed, they felt like they had to justify their own anger, and so they've just doubled, tripled, quadrupled, and like centupled down on their own hatred for the game, rather than, you know, doing the healthy thing and just finding something else to do. In better news, CIG is getting multiple new studios plus buildings throughout the world. That shows they're hiring even more people to push up both games as soon as possible. Again, exactly. The actual reality is, if you ignore the noise and you look at what CIG is doing, CIG has gone through a hiring fucking blitz. They built a massive, and I mean fucking massive, studio in Manchester. And that thing is still being worked on, obviously. I don't think it's finished yet, but I think it's slowly being finished. And like possibly finished this year. I don't know the timetables for it. But like CIG's not fucking around. They're definitely gearing the fuck up. And they're much more focused on like, let's just ignore the bullshit and get the shit done. And you can start to see some of those things, like the Gen 12 thing that was added, and those improvements are going to start showing the work that they've been putting in. So. Isn't there a rumor around that they're hemorrhaging devs? Yeah, but it's one of those rumors. There's plenty of rumors that come from Star Citizen leaks, and because Star Citizen leaks has a couple of things they've gotten right, people trust them with 100%. I will tell you this: I know people who work at CIG. I've known many of them for more than I'd like to admit. Most of them were Star Citizen backers, and many of them I've gone drinking with or hung out before. And I talk with on the regularly, even just about things that aren't Star Citizen. And I will tell you that CIG is fine. They definitely lose people who are looking for better money, because Star Citizen, the one thing that CIG can't do is really pay a good enough. They pay decent enough. They pay about average, but they don't pay above average. What they make up for is they do pretty good benefits. They have a really good health benefit system. I think they get 2 months out of the year off, just flat out. Like I think a significant amount of time of paid leave if they need to for like personal reasons. So they've got really good benefits. And they also hire from internally. So if you want to work up, you want to do something and you want to get trained on it, they train you. So they offer a lot of good benefits, but it's just they don't pay a ton. So. Leaks Discord isn't full of it, but they tend to be full of themselves at times, where they'll take the word of one dev who may be upset or angry, or one dev who, let's say, they hear a dev talk about something, and then they'll take that as gospel rather than, you know, figuring out what they're actually saying. All right. CG of late, less talk and fluff and more action. Yeah, but the problem is all that action is not visual. It's all in the back end. You won't see it. And that's the problem, that people don't know that there's progress being made unless they can see it with their eyes. So. Given the cost of running businesses in California, do you think they're gearing up to move to close the LA office from Manchester? I don't think they'll ever close the LA office, but I do think they'll downsize it. LA makes sense to have because you need to have people who are in, especially marketing, needs to be in LA or San Francisco. That is almost 100% where all marketing and PR firms are in the United States, probably even the world. There's a large quantity there. LA gets you access to a lot of markets and a lot of media companies that you wouldn't have access otherwise. So they're likely never going to close the LA studio down. They'll probably downsize it, but maybe remove the dev elements, but the dev elements are still there. I think most of the emphasis will be put on Manchester. Do you think that at some point they make it so that you won't be able to fly big ships without a certain amount of people, unlike now? Yeah, they will. They'll definitely make it so you can't fly big ships unless you have a certain amount of people, because you'll have to do things like manage the engines. And that may only be able to be done at the engine deck. Question, what's your least favorite system and why? All the systems. I think the least interesting system is probably the Nemo system. It's a little too try-hard, but I don't think it's bad. I just think it's try-hard. Just a question. Why the move to UK? Tax breaks? Tax breaks. Manchester's throwing money at them. That's why. They've even said in interviews they were looking all over the various countries that they had headquarters in, and it just so happened that Manchester had the best deals. Question, Sandworm. Answer, no. Have a good night, Black. Thanks for hanging out. North American legal system? Possibly. I mean, the answer is that they could, for instance, scale up in Austin. The problem is that Austin property has gone up 300% in the last 3 years. It's very expensive to open up a new studio in Austin. LA is one of the most expensive places to live in the world. And I imagine that Frankfurt doesn't have a large... Since the majority of the people who run Star Citizen are English-speaking, it doesn't make a lot of sense to open up a new studio or headquarters effectively in Frankfurt. Manchester makes sense. The only other place would be probably Montreal, but guess what? They already have a studio in Montreal because they're also cheap to live in and have a large amount of devs who are willing to work. The only other place outside of Montreal and Manchester would probably be Poland, but I don't know if Poland would be a good option. It's the same reason why Frankfurt. So. They should move the LA branch to Austin. It probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. Like I said, I've been in the marketing industry. I don't know a lot about PR, but because most of my stuff was like over the counter marketing. So that was mostly focused in San Francisco, which is a lot of tech marketing and stuff like is. But I know the PR headquarters is LA. And you really don't understand that like marketing and PR specifically is a fuck ton less about what you know and more about who you know. And knowing the right people in the right locations is key. CIG could get a deal for actors or airtime or like, for instance, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Roberts showed up on, a late night talk show to try to promote Squadron 42 alongside like Mark Hamill. Why? Because they have the people in LA who can make those connections. It's much easier to make those connections in person than it is over the phone. PR firms don't have to be in the same city as you. They don't, but they should. Will they not lose a lot of devs by moving recently? I would guess not everyone wants to move from the US to UK. No, but I don't think they're not shutting down the LA office or Austin. They're probably just not trying to grow them as much. Yeah, all their agents are in LA, which is very important. Like, if you want to get Mark Hamill, you got to know his fucking agent. Knowing Mark Hamill himself is good, but if you know him and his agent, it becomes a lot easier to book him. Hey, Rastafarian. So basically what Taekwondo, to explain why they're moving to UK, it's tax breaks. They already have their largest studio is nearby. I think they're closing down the studio that's in Winslow and moving it to the new Manchester studio. And I don't believe they're too far away. I want to say, I don't remember exactly if it's Winslow or if it's another thing. There's one that's like already basically Manchester. And that's already their biggest studio. They have like 600 people who work in that studio. The second biggest studio is Frankfurt, and then LA, or then Austin, then LA. Thank you all, Lefty. They're very close. So it's not much of an issue. It's like, for the US, it'd be like moving across town. How long do you think it should take to traverse a jump point? A couple of minutes. I think the longest jump point probably take 10 minutes. Jump points are shortcuts. The practical purpose of them in terms of gameplay is just to stream out information and stream it back in, effectively a loading screen. But in game, they're going to function more like skill tests, light skill tests as well. So, yeah. LA, Austin, Frankfurt, and Manchester are currently the ones offering their job offers. And I'm guessing LA is much more support staff, things like marketing and finance and law, legal, and those sorts of things. Whereas Austin is probably more testers and some game dev, because they do a lot of PU game dev in Austin. And then Frankfurt's probably more engine dev, and Manchester's probably more Squadron 42 stuff. What happens if you fall out of jump point in your middle of two galaxies like Stargate Atlantis? Scary. That's the question. We don't know that yet. Originally, they said you just explode, but I think that's boring. Personally, what I'd prefer is if you fall out of a jump point, you get yeeted out into a random location, either back at the system you were in or in another system, severely damaged, because that seems more interesting to me. Do you think it will be possible to get a system without using a jump point? CIG has said that they plan on making it available, but the distances we're talking about would take literally hundreds of years. So the likelihood is that CIG will say it is and then never actually do that. London also has a few cast members, yes. Do you suspect we'll have more of the longer test cycles as we approach server meshing? No, it just CIG is they're just bad at managing cycles. I think we're just gonna have this cycle where it's like 317 is gonna release in May, then they do 317.1 in mid-May, and then they'll mid to late May, and then they'll do 318 in July, even though it's supposed to come out in June. And it'll just be like that. And then the last patch of the year is just going to be hacked up garbage that they have left over. And then they'll just do the whole cycle again. It's just how that works. Still not the longest PTU, but about the same length as last year, which is disappointing. Art, corporate operations, design, engineering, programming for marketing offers for LA. Yeah, so mostly just support staff. Stuff that would be done would make sense for LA. May this year? Yes. I think if you really want to make some side money, follow Senator Bets. It's like Wall Street, but insider trading. God damn. Manchester also has a growing tech industry, along with Leeds, a vibrant and increasingly important media industry. Yeah. Question, do you think there will be anomalies to deal with in jump points, like extreme gravity? Probably. Question, do you expect we'll have more of the... Oh, yeah, you asked to answer that one. V14 PTU had up to and including patch AB. This one's bound to hit AC at this rate. Yeah. LA is massive for connections within the entertainment industry. It's also a lot cheaper to hire local talent for work for voiceover and mocap artists if you don't have to fly them out to you. Yeah. UK has some very good incentives for tax bills. Yes. Can you show pics of the new studio? Oh, let me see if I can find it. There was pictures of it at one point. I don't think it's fully out there yet, though. Yeah, here's some pictures. They're pretty poor quality. They're pretty small. But here's what I can find from the Gamer article. I think these are all 3D renders. So I don't know if these are real or 3D renders, but you know. Question, can a ship be pulled from a jump point in transit? We don't know yet. Lore question, is there a museum in game with things from the present era? Yes. We don't know. There's museums all over the place. Linking my previous question with Mr. Parkinson's question. What? Industries is overrated, not very entertaining lately. I know, you know, a Hamill's number, you don't need to rest of the local, to hire local is cheaper. I have to disagree for many reasons. It's complicated. It just doesn't work the way you think it does. Just joking though, they showed the outside in the last ISC video. Last ISC, I think they showed, that was Jared hanging out on his own porch. I've seen his pictures. That was his flat. Question, do you think ships will transit jump points with the same speed, i.e. smaller ships will be faster and slower for larger ships? Reverse, but yes. Question, is there a where is it decided what's lore and what's not? Where's the novel written, Austin? So the lore stuff is written in LA. That's where the lore team is. And what's the differences between them is anything that's written in under the category of fiction, I think is what it's called. It's like in-game fiction. It's something like that. That is not canon. Those are stories within the Star Citizen universe. In the same ways as like watching Indiana Jones isn't real, but it is definitely something we have in our reality that we can watch. But Indiana Jones wasn't a real person. Or watching the movie Patton is a historical, biography, but it's not his actual story. It's just an embellished story of his life, which is still about a historical person, something like that. Everything you see as called Spectrum Dispatch, those are all actual real canon articles. So anything you read in story format is probably in fiction. So it's not actual canon. So for instance, the Artemis being discovered is not real. That is fiction. Lore question, where is London or what happened to London in the Star Citizen universe? It's still around. You can still visit it in Star Citizen universe. It's in London, UK. What if the Kurthak can open jump points on a whim, like the Ori from Stargate? No, we don't know. We don't know anything about the Kurthak yet. Question, are there still any plans to add more landing zones to ArcCorp, such as the current Area 18? No, but there are mentions that they use city flight to travel between the different area locations. So I wouldn't be surprised if they added a longer, faster version of city flight that's kind of like a high-speed rail that takes you between the different areas. That'll depend on a lot of factors, like how much time does Montreal have and what are their priorities. Question, will flight suit have limited fuel when going into spacewalk? Not yet, but eventually, yes. Eventually, you're going to have a dedicated rig to EVA. Eventually, your flight suit won't even have the EVA thrusters unless you have attached fuel canisters. Historically, would be a historically adjacent movie. Better yet, is there any British corporations in Star Citizen? Not that I've seen. There's nothing that's directly British. There are Germans, but there's not directly British. Can we expect to find Easter eggs like Manchester Studio and Star Citizen? Probably. And that balcony was his Crystal. That balcony was his flat. That's where Jared lives. Let's see if this anybody wants. In New York is basically a museum. Jetpacks? We don't know. There's definitely going to be EVA packs, which are different from jetpacks. Because EVA packs work in zero gravity, whereas jetpacks is more like you can move around on planets. EVA packs would allow you to, EVA from a ship in space and go to different locations. Eventually, that's going to use fuel, which is why they have the hand tractor beam, so you can use the tractor beam to get you to where you go. But eventually, the tractor beam is going to use energy, which you're going to have to back up. So you're going to have a combination of the two to be able to traverse places. Effectively, the game right now is on easy mode. As more stuff gets added, it's going to get harder. Question, how do you feel about CIG relying on content creators to teach new players about the game or create tools for the community to understand content like mining and trading? I don't like it, but I would like for CIG to support the content creators more if they're going to do it. I know it's a nice touch that CIG, like the lore team, for instance, has said that they rely on me to educate people more on the lore, which is fine, but, I at least have the advantage of getting, like, CIG often reaches out to me and gives me ships to give away. And they often do promote my stuff, but not everyone who does this thing gets that kind of support from CIG. So CIG formalizing the relationship with their content creators would be a nice touch. It may be still too early for CIG. Who knows? I'm still also pulling for being able to do stuff before Squadron 42 with CIG. Yeah, push-pull. That's the example. You also won't have to use your EVA packs or your things at all. Eventually, you'll be able to grab on handholds and pull yourself adjacent to things. But I think there'll be DLC for Squadron 42. I guarantee it. Have there ever been any land mass changes on Earth? Not that I know of, no. There may be some oceans maybe a little higher than they were today. But I don't know if they're... Even in historical modeling, there would be, after 900 years, be a ton of continental drift. I think we're talking millennia, multiple millennias for continental drift to happen. Will Interdictor be able to pull someone out of a jump point? No, probably not. Jump point is complicated. You can't stop in a jump point. So you can't make me dedicated to how videos of something changes every two months. And that's the example as well. Sketch therapy is that I don't mind that the community does these things, because the community can make videos on the fly. And every time Board Gamer or Super Mac Bros or Loken or Captain Burks, whenever they make a how-to for a certain patch, they make money and they get views and they get content. So I don't think they complain. Like, I'm not complaining that I do the lore and that CIG doesn't do lore masters anymore. Lore's Guide, because I thank you for the views. I like that people watch me. It's just that I think CIG is still very hesitant to formalize relationships with content creators, unlike other communities that with their content creation, which I get why, because you look at World of Tanks, their content creation community can be kind of dicks. And you always risk running the foul of a milkshake duck, where you have somebody who seems fine, and then 2 weeks after you give them a partnership deal, they start spouting gamer words, or they find CP on their hard drive, and you're just like, whoa, well, we're fucked. So I get it. Eventually, they're going to have to do that. Eventually, as the community expands and those sort of things, they're going to have to start formalizing some of those stuff. Are they planning on adding any more in-flight entertainment like a chess set? I think so, eventually. Gibbs 6 Platoon Phantoms DLC. What? Oh, yeah, 6 Platoon. Tree, we were talking about, you missed it, we were talking about the nails earlier. And how you're sad that you're never going to get them. Question. I thought you said you could be kicked out of a jump point. If they're unstable and not end up in where you want to go to Space Eddies. Did I read that wrong in that? So effectively, a jump point is like a river. You may have one entrance point, but as that river reaches the sea, it fans out into a delta. And they've talked about how like there is multiple paths outside of a jump point. And if you pick the wrong path, you just end up in the middle of nowhere. So that was the early concept. I don't like that concept. Question: volcanoes when? I think when pyro hits. That's one of the reasons why they had river tech, was because it's for lava flows. Would Star Citizen benefit from having, say, a CGI movie intro introducing players to the verse they're about to play in? Yes, but I think they would benefit more from a dedicated tutorial, but it's too early. Question: are current day space stations still around in Star Citizen? And if so, we get to visit them around Sol. I doubt we'll see the ISS, because the ISS even is not going to last that long. They're going to deorbit it. Question: volcanoes when? The DG's 360 Eradicator, yeah, I like what they fill those roles in Board and Zen. They seem very cool people. Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense, especially until they get into this stuff. What's Gave Rewards in CP? I am not explaining those things. Look them up. Question: as the game develops, do you think the player base will diminish and funding become a real concern? No. Daniel, don't take this the wrong way. I've heard that line for 10 years. Well, I guess I haven't been around since the beginning. For like 8 years. Every time someone's predicted disaster, CIG breaks fucking budgets. Star Citizen has not even begun to get the attention of the gaming community. It may seem like a big game, especially to us who follow it, but it is very tiny. To put it in perspective, the biggest content creator who dedicates themselves to Star Citizen, the biggest ones are probably Morphologist and Board Gamer. And let me look up Board Gamer's last video. Okay, so his latest video, 13 hours ago, is at 17,000 views. He averages between 17 and it looks like 55,000. Not bad. He has 175,000 subscribers. Morphologist has 209 subscribers, and he has 90,000 views. He gets up there. All right, let's look up. What's a good like AAA title that's not massive? Mass Effect. Uh. 12 days ago, we have somebody with 27,000 subscribers. So half the subscribers, actually like 3-4 times less subscribers than Board, made a video about why Mass Effect is closer than you think, and he has 16,000 views. Somebody, that same person, Mr. Holton, has 55,000 views from a video that they talked about Mass Effect 4 in 5 months ago. Someone made a theory video. The same person made a theory video 1 day ago and has 6,000 views. I could probably go through a lot of this. The Templin Institute did a video on the post-Reaper War, and they have, 5 months ago, and they have 102,000 views. Star Citizen is tiny. It feels big, but it's tiny in comparison to most gaming industry. And it's a fucking miracle that the content creators that make content are able to do these sorts of things. And content creation isn't a direct source of popularity, but it's a good sign of popularity. And we're not there yet. I think eventually we'll be there, but I don't think CIG is like currently on record to break their last year's record for funding. So. The problem right now is that Star Citizen is still buggy alpha. As things go along, things are getting better, but it's probably not fast enough for a lot of people. In the next 2 or 3 years, Star Citizen will reach that make it or break it moment where they have to produce a game that's fun and interesting and more or less complete in a beta-ish format. If they're able to do that in the next 2 or 3 years, Star Citizen will do fine. If Squadron 42 does well, they'll be even double fine. So, hey, that's a video game company. So it's important to remember that you'll hear a lot of negativity from people, and a lot of people will talk shit, but people are idiots. People don't do the research. And as I pointed out many times, gamers don't fucking read. So there are lots of information out there, but it's all in text format, like budget reports from CIG, like tax forms that they have to fill out for the UK government. There are also like earnings reports that they do for a yearly basis. Plus, you can look at their website, look how much they're hiring, look at their monthly reports. Everything says that they are hiring people, that they are making more money than they've ever made before, that people are moving along and developing the game. There is no indication that CIG is hemorrhaging money or is going to fail. Oh yeah, and there's going to be a massive increase of backers after Squadron 42 because so many people will buy Squadron 42 because they're like, hey, that's Mark Hamill. Hey, that's Gillian Anderson. Hey, that's John Rhys Davies. Hey, that's Mark Strong. Like look at all these fucking actors. I love this. And then at the end, someone will be like, yeah, you like Squadron? Did you try Star Citizen? And they're like, what? Yeah, it's like Squadron. It's the same game, but it's MMO, space MMO. People are going to flock to it. If Squadron 42 does well, people will flock to it. You may address Paul as Lord Daddy or Daddy read a lot. Pair character jumping up and down. Number 1 fan. Hey Deepa, thank you. Thank you for that $10. It's not really even buggy at least for me. I mean, it's been worse. I say buggy because I know your experience may vary. I've had pretty good time in comparison.
You do not know what buggy is. You merely adopted buggy. I was born with it, raised by it. I did not see a stable build until 314.
Gamers read, sweat tryhards don't read. No, I mean, all right, let me explain. Most people do not have the desire to read. Your average Joe Schmo gamer will not read. There are people who read, but those are definitely in the minority. Because A, especially with Star Citizen, the sources are not obvious for many people, and B, the reading is hard, and people just don't have fucking time for it. I do these videos like this. Every month, I do 2 pull out kind of breakaway videos from these live streams where I read the monthly reports. That's it. They're some of the best performing videos I ever do. It's me reading these videos between 30 minutes and an hour to read through these reports. And it's me who's reading it out loud and trying to process it and talking with chat. So I can imagine your average person does not have a fucking hour to read dry dev updates for a game they follow. That's a little much. So me reading it is like a audiobook format of the monthly report, which I constantly say, CIG, just release it fucking read and people will fucking listen to it. But, you know, hey, I don't mind the money, so the $20 I get per per video. Will people be able to determine edible flora fauna, and will we need to prepare this food if stranded? A little bit of both, I think. I'm sure there'll be survival kits that'll help you test those sorts of things. Yeah, all the new videos are massive, yeah. Warframe is where I can compare. Yeah, Warframe is a good comparison. Yeah, the ISS is going to be these things. Do I think Pyro will come out by the end of the year with 4.0? Yes. If 4.0 releases, Pyro will be released. Yeah, at some point, Star Citizen is going to have to come out. 500 million is a drop in the bucket for Madden. Madden makes EA hundreds of millions every year, and it's just a reskin of the last installment. Not to mention mobile games. Hey, I've listened for your Captain's Table for so long. I love your content work. Good work. Thank you, Deepa. Thank you for watching the Captain's Table for so long. I apologize. Not everyone's a winner, but I always try to make it entertaining. As I used to say, Captain's Table is Captain's Table. We don't know shit. At its core, the Captain's Table is not really an informative as much as it's a discussion entertainment show. Really, Star Citizen has improved so much during the last 2 years in terms of stability. I haven't seen it for 30K in quite a long time. I see it pretty frequently, but usually during times of high stress or weird stuff going on. We need the Juggernaut armor. We do. I fear people are wanting the game to be overly complex, maintaining, showering, hand-holding hundreds of cargo boxes. I don't want to have to file separate taxes for each system I do business in. Z-Gamer, I get the concern. But it's important to remember that what we have currently is not really transportable into the actual game. For instance, loading and unloading boxes. You're not going to be unloading boxes these tiny boxes we have now. They're going to be a lot bigger. And any cargo you're taking are going to be in large containers. And you will never have to hand load like hundreds of tiny little boxes unless that's how you load your ship. It'll all be in larger boxes. And then you'll be able to load those out. So instead of having 100 tiny boxes in your Cutlass, you'll have 7 big boxes that you'll move with a tractor beam. And you're not going to have to shower and shave and shit every 5 minutes. That's something you would do if you're landing at an outpost or landing at a station that you have to go do business with. Before you leave your ship, you shower and shave and shit, and then you make your way off to go do business. It's part of like equipping your gear properly, all those sorts of things. The key with Star Citizen is to remember that Star Citizen's built around planning and procedure. It's going to be simplified. It's not going to be overly complex, but you're going to have to plan. It's not going to be a pick up and go kind of game. The closest example I can give to you is watch any large ARMA milsim group plan an operation. It's something like that. It's going to require some time, usually 20 to 30 minutes, especially it expands depending on the number of people you have. You're just going to require some time to get people together, get the right equipment, get everyone situated, and then start off your operations. Same thing is going to happen, but you're going to have some time to practice. It's not going to be an impressive, or not impressive, a super ridiculously timed sim. Question, what's the next system after Pyro? I don't have a 100% answer for that, but I do have a suggestion, which is Castra. I think Castra's next. What is the date for CitizenCon? I don't know. I think it's in October in LA, but I'm not too sure. I pledged first for December 2019, 8 days before 3.8 dropped. I'm still a youngster with Star Citizen. Yeah, welcome. You're Dakota. This is going to sound weird. You're an old grizzled veteran now. Welcome to the club, girl. 2019, you've been here for 3 years. I think the answer is that most like if you looked at the last logistics episode we talked about, we kind of talked past that point because we kind of assumed people already knew that like the game is going to be very different when we play it eventually, but you're going to have to plan. Like an operation that's massive, that you're bringing an entire organization to go colonize a planet, yeah, you're going to fucking take some time. You're going to have to buy the right components, the right gear. You're going to have everyone fueled up, ready to go, armed up. Everyone's going to have to be rolling on busting on all cylinders. And that's going to take hours or days to prepare for. But the operation you're doing is massive scale. And the resulting operation is going to be much more intensive than just doing a cargo mission. Crystal King, I pledged in 2016. What am I? You're dead. Nyx with Delamar 2.0. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. No, I keep forgetting Nyx. Yeah. That is definitely the next one after Pyro is Nyx. Then after that is Castra. See, I just did the think past it. I was like, Nyx is already the next one. And Nyx is after Pyro. And they've already started working on it. All right, here we go. Beer. Beer and beer. Why Castra? I think it's 2 planets. It represents a kind of frontier system that CIG hasn't done before, which is a UEE frontier system that's remote but still old. Its main landing, it only has 1 landing point, which is Sherman, which is built on top of a mountain, which gives this beautiful vista. And its architecture is like literally ancient. So it'll give them a chance to build out architecture, which you will see in other locations in the Star Citizen universe, first in Castra, and then they can use that and transport it to places like Earth and Terra and other older locations in Stanton, other older locations in the verse, because Nyx, Pyro, and Stanton are all newer places. Pyro is older, but it's busted to shit and no real infrastructure, and Nyx is busted to shit and old. So Castra gives them a chance to do a lot of things to prepare for future landing zones, while being simple, 2 planets, fucking easy. And it also has 2 jump points to Nyx and to Pyro. So it's perfectly placed as a system to be the next system after that. Have a good night, Joe Jordan. Yeah, how long have I been doing this? 2 hours, okay. Server meshing development track is 104 weeks. Yes, but it's important to remember, Kemi, that also includes dynamic meshing. Yeah, we may get Pyro in first quarter of 2023, but I don't think that's their plan. I think their plan is the Pyro in last quarter of this year. Really, what depends on it is their persistence. If persistence is finished by 3/18, then there's a chance it'll be at the end of the year. But yeah, but you're never going to see Terra has two jump points, 1 to Pyro and 1 to Stanton though. But Terra is not something you want to tackle. Terra is a beta project because Terra it's Earth. Terra is like the scale of Earth in terms of its detail, but more. There are multiple, it's huge. Like there's probably 6 landing zones at Terra alone, just on that one planet. And it's complex. You're going to need a ton of people moving around in it. That landing zone or that area is going to be a valuable experience, but it's going to take probably 3 months just to build, let alone like develop properly. It's not the capital of the UAE, though it should be, but it's like the second capital. It's the trade capital of the I think we'll see Earth at release. I think it'll be the last one they add before the release for sure. Question, can you pat yourself on the back for answering all of our questions? No, I can't pat myself on the back, but I'll try. Yeah, it's the Constantinople to Earth room. Yeah, that's the actual analogy that's used, but oh, damn straight I am. I fucking hate Earth. Then again, I also tend to play that my character's from Magnus, so fuck Earth. Fuck Earth with a 10-foot pole. fuck them and fuck the Senate, fuck New York, fuck the whole goddamn system. Would not mind Magnus bring on Space Detroit. I wouldn't mind to go. I wouldn't mind going home. That's for sure. But I don't think Magnus is going to come in until after Castra. Castra is just too well placed to not be a system they're going to develop. I think Magnus will be somewhere shortly after that, though. You watch too much of The Expanse. I don't know what you're talking about, Bratna. What about Mars? Mars has got Argo. It's where the king resides. It's where our lord and master, the queen of the verse, sits on her golden throne, ruling all of us. All hail Argo Cargo. What's the capital of UE? New York. New York City. Earth. Hey, Logan. Can we get a follow command for Loken, by the way? I don't know if we have any mods in chat right now. Thank you, Bansier. Question. Honestly, the one after Nyx would most depend on Squadron 42. If that drops before that, I would see Odin before Castro. Would you agree? I think so. If Squadron 42 drops before Nyx, and I doubt it, then we'll see Odin. I think what we'll see is Pyro will drop with the first patch, and depending on when that patch releases, which is either at the end of this year or next year, if 4.0 releases this time next year, then I wouldn't be surprised if we got Pyro and Nyx at the same time. Because the biggest problem that CIG is having right now with Pyro is, interesting points of interest in terms of like ruined shelters, but also the stations, the bits of infrastructure like ruined station. However, Nyx's landing zones are already done, because that's Delamar and Levski. So, which they've still been working on, So, because Delamar, I'm sure Nyx will get more than just that, because even though in lore it's just that, they did the same thing with Pyro, they added more. They'll add more, but it wouldn't be too difficult for them to drop both at once with that all in mind. Yeah, I know Nyx has got a jump point to Odin, and Odin makes sense, but I think because of how everything's working, I wouldn't be surprised if Castro was in around the same time as Squadron 42 releases, and we'll have a Squadron 42 release, and then the patch after Squadron 42 will be Odin. Yeah, the most important ship on the verse, Argo Cargo, is headquartered on Mars. Argo is headquartered on Mars. Question, do you think the reward program to continue once Squadron 42 comes out? I got 0 and be like to get at least 10. Probably. Why do you think Argo's skin is default orange? Because they're from Mars. Because they're all Mechanicus. RSI's got a couple of facilities on Luna. I think there's a landing zone in Luna too, but I don't remember which one. Does that mean they worship toasters? Probably. Do you think the development of systems will follow how they are linked, or do you think they'll go faraway systems and temporary jump points? I think they'll try to stick to where the jump points are normally are. But if they manage to make something cool like Lear, they'll probably do a temporary jump point, but I doubt it. Mars had a similar terraforming incident like Microtech. Sort of, yeah. Mars, I think, is less orange and more green, but it still has the orange-red. If the release in that order, Pyro would be effective center of the game universe. Could have interesting impacts. Exactly. That's fun. Question: what color is Argo's logo? I've seen it in the in black and blue and orange. I think it's just white normally. Was there a problem with a Cyber Dragon? You mean the Catan Dragon? I don't know. For a while at least. Yeah. For a while at least, yeah. For Pyro being the center of trade. I've been saying that for some time. I don't know what you've been saying, but yes. It helped to ease the overpopulation. It did. Yeah. The colonization and terraformation of Mars did a lot of shit for Earth and helped us learn how to terraform. We learned how to terraform before we learned jump points, which is big because not every species knows how to terraform fully. Like, I don't think the Tavaran don't know how. And I don't think the Banu seem to know how either. So, how much is the Argo cargo in game? I think you could buy it in game. I think it's less than the cost of an Aurora. Have a good night there, Outlaw Knight. Around 200K, yeah. So about a little less than the cost of an Aurora. Aurora is like 250 or something like that. And is the Argo Raft any good? It depends on what you use it for. The Argo Raft's design makes sense because the Argo Raft is designed for loading and offloading of cargo in places that don't have a ton of infrastructure. So you can load on cargo, boxes onto your ship without ever having to leave your ship, take off, come back, and drop it off again. Hey, Deepa, thanks for that. 2 USD. A pixelated hippo chomps on a 1-up. Ah, there we go. Oh, I see the. Oh, those are little things that just give me the descriptions in the theater reading. Thank you. Thank you for the 1-up. I see I'm watching my own thing because it's telling me that the live stream is finished. It's like, no, it's not. Question: can I shill your chat by dropping my referral code? Yeah, go for it. Feel free there, Joe. How many systems before we get Virgil in game? It's got a direct jump point to the next. I think Virgil is probably one. I would guess later towards beta. Did we never get somebody promoting Loken Plays? Okay, fuck it. I'm going to do it myself. All right, follow Loken. If you're watching this on YouTube, go subscribe to his YouTube. He's doing more YouTube stuff as well. And I'm trying to. He's a better editor than I will ever fucking be. He's worth your follow on Twitch. He's worth your subscription on YouTube. Worth your subscription on Twitch too. Friend of mine, go check him out. Galactic is gonna be amazing. Yeah, the Raylan. I won the up. Thank you, Depa. I've seen some player concepts for how the Empire should be split in half. I personally think Nexus and the surrounding systems would be a third pirate kingdom. I agree. I call it the Outlaw Confederacy because it's less piratey and more outlawy, but it's like the TV experience Expanse put the Nexus of jump points in the Sol system and that had the harness the alien manner. It would have done it in Machinima. Oh, yeah. I'm happy to put the most important fix in Star Citizen. The dust up helmet with white texture is gone. Oh, nice. What do you think the Raylan will come in this year? No, I don't think it will. I may, but I don't think so. Planet Tortuga. That's Spider, Cathcart. Hey, what will be the new slandered with all the changes? But there'll be much more. I don't know. You mean standard? How long do you think until we start seeing aliens working around Star Citizen? I think we're probably gonna. It's probably gonna be After Squadron. You're definitely not going to see the whole C come out until closer to when we can see the Pyro in game. Yeah, we're likely going to see the Expanse before the Raylan, and we won't see the Expanse until after Squadron, or at least until after the current like round of Squadron stuff is being added. How's Ben Lesnick doing? Does anyone know? I know. He had some sort of medical condition that forced him to no longer be, really active in the community or in the game development. But he still writes for Jump Point. He creates most of the Jump Point. Like a lot of the lore of Star Citizen is actually written by Ben Lesnick. And he still does all the Jump Point magazines. He still edits them and does a lot of stuff with them. So he just works remotely now. He's doing okay though. Last I saw, he's very active on Twitter. Iris detachment, yeah, it fixed now. Yeah, but I don't think he's going back to work for that. What's your opinion on the points of interest in Pyro they showed off on the ISC? They seem mentioned routes and corrosive elements. Yeah. Derelict space stations. I'm gonna come a little closer. Come close. Come close. I'm gonna be very quiet. I'm not gonna yell. I swear. Derelict space stations is something they've been working on for 3 years. It was on the roadmap multiple times. That's all this is derelict space stations. He took over for David Ladyman's editing job for Jump Point. Yeah, he did. Oh, yeah. Totally no bugs. The wear and tear one. Yeah. If you like Wing Commander, follow Ben on Twitter. Yes. He's just not as public facing anymore. But if you read Jump Point, then you're seeing Ben's work. So, hey, Benjo. I imagine that the derelict space stations are going to be part spoopy and part interesting, part actiony. Yeah, a lot of the people who work for CIG are from the old teams. I actually did a Wing Commander playthrough a couple years ago. Just to kind of get an idea. I couldn't beat it. But I had an interesting time. It's complicated. It's difficult to get running if you don't know what you're doing, but... Yep, derelict means you can swat on them. Just wouldn't poop without a vacuum suit. Hey, Astropub, the prophet of Pyro told me that you can't have I can have your channel now. Thank you very much. I love that lore. I'm sad that video kind of got shit on. It's doing better now. When I first released it, it was doing, it was like one of the lower videos I've ever done. It was actually the worst video I've ever done this year. Not ever done, but ever done this year. It's now like, it's going to break 2K before the end of tonight, which is good. But it's just like, damn. It was a punch in the gut to see like the Lore Citizen, which is doing about average for a Lore Citizen, And then like afterwards, it was like worse than Lore Citizen. It's like, fuck, what the fuck? I have a question for the almighty Astropub. I know a lot of the ship manufacturers based on Earth, Terra, Magnus, etc., but where are they actually built? If the bigger ships have to be built in 0G, is there massive space stations, massive space building space stations orbiting headquarters, or are they somewhere else? Thanks, Loremaster. They're built in a lot of different places. Most of them are built in the same place their headquarters are. Like Crusader obviously built its ships in Crusader. But RSI, for instance, has a massive, and I mean fuck you massive, space station that they build like Bengal carriers at around Earth. And it's been like, it's one of the oldest stations ever in humanity because it was built like shortly after, like the beginnings of it were built shortly after RSI was, first started building spaceships. And it's just been growing over time. So it's like 900-year-old station that's been added to. So, yeah, and some places do have orbital shipyards that they build it in. We don't have, CG's kept it very vague, just so they can, add in wherever they want to. But generally speaking, like we know, for instance, the Idris is built on Idris 4, which is not Aegis's headquarters, but it is where the Idris is built. Think we'll be land claiming and settlement building this year? Nope, next year. I think we're probably close, but not this year. Do you think they're going to drop the idea of pets in game? No, they will, or limit them in a way that the cage so it's in a box. Nah, they'll put them in the game. It takes a while. Interesting, difficult to get started, and pretty hard, but a good formula keeps you playing. Yeah, that's a good idea. What type of civilization is humanity in the Star Citizen universe? I think type 1, maybe. RSI has a lot of connections to SpaceX. Yeah, very similar. It's probably closer to like Ford, but UE has arsenal planets, don't they? In terms of like where they just have fuck tons of weapons and ammo, yeah. They're working on a lot of the tech that's used specifically for base building is being finished or, ending its early stages now. Probably for pyro. Purpose of putting stuff in pyro. I love the big orbital shipyards around Killian. There are big orbital shipyards around Killian, but the Killian stations build a lot of different stuff. I think those are owned and operated by the UEE themselves. So they build various different things like Javelins and Idrises and Bengals. But like there is a dedicated RSI space platform that builds. It's really not a space station; it's a space platform, orbital plate that builds Bengals on Earth. They build in multiple places. I still find it funny how Chris Roberts is actually the owner of RSI. Yeah. When do you think we will see a single-player game launch? Next, I think the earliest we'll see is a fall of 2023. I think that's what CIG is shooting for themselves. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up into spring of 2024, but I think end of next year is the earliest we'll see Squadron 42 release. Yeah, you need things like the Boreal Stalker of Microtech before you can get pets, but I think pets are still planned. Wait, so if Chris Roberts bought Star Citizen, is Star Citizen Elon Musk? Does that mean Chris bought Spectrum? Monka. No. Because Elon Musk still exists in the Star Citizen universe. So does SpaceX and Bigelow Aerospace and all those things. They just don't exist anymore. Did you see the Unreal 5 full release earlier this month? Do you think Star Citizen progressing quickly enough to compete with this and other soon-to-come next-gen engines? Yeah, All right. This question was brought up when Unreal 4 came out. It was brought up in multiple. Unreal 5 is a fantastic engine, but all it does is streamline assets, which would normally take a lot more effort in AAA development. It becomes a lot easier for smaller dev studios to produce it. That's the purpose of Unreal 5. Unreal 5 was designed to be as much of a plug-and-play game development system as possible to make it so that you could have higher quality results with less input, which means that indie developers could make better products overall. Especially since the future of innovation in gaming is not AAA space, it's the indie space. And Unreal knows this. However, everything you see in Unreal 5 is great, but it's not games. There are no games in Unreal 5 yet. And when the first Unreal 5 games come out, they're going to look nothing like the trailers you see. Because building a game and building a tech demo are two entirely different things. And that's why whenever someone says Star Citizen's a tech demo, I get pissed off because it's not a fucking tech demo. A tech demo is something that you maybe has some light ability to walk around in and just see off what the engine can do. It's not a tech demo, it's a game. It's an early access game, but it's a game. It's not a showcase, a vehicle for selling some of the things. Which is why I think a lot of people get confused by when Star Citizen's being created. People think like, oh, it's just being used to sell software. It's like, no, it's a game. It's just. And while Unreal 5 is great, I don't think Star Citizen is ever going to have to worry about Unreal 5 beating them in some case or way, shape, or form. There'll always be people who say Star Citizen looks ugly or Star Citizen is outdated. And the answer is, no, it's not. Like, what? People are always going to have different opinions, and there'll be plenty of people who will always say Star Citizen is going to look bad. Yeah, Goat Simulator was not just a tech demo, it was a physics tech demo. Yeah, it's a great thing for video. I mean, they use Unreal 5 for The Mandalorian, I believe. Or at least Unreal 4. They use it as a means to insert like special effects onto a stage so that they don't have to worry as much to like add as much of that content in for post effects to kind of listen to that. So that's not too bad. That's personal preference there, Crystal. Battlefield 1 is not to be compared with Star Citizen in any way, shape, or form. Why? Because Battlefield 1 is not the same type of game as Star Citizen, A. And B, it's using a lot of tricks to get it to look good. I would disagree that Battlefield 1 looks better than Star Citizen. It's just more cinematic, I guess you could say. I would disagree. Yeah, Star Citizen is going to be an MMO, and it's streaming the objects, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that's true. I think Star Citizen still definitely has ways to improve its own graphics, and it will. I mean, look at the differences between player characters in 316 and 317. There's a huge improvement on that. And Star Citizen's just going to look better as they go through. I mean, look at some of the stuff that's come out from Squadron 42. It looks so much better than Star Citizen. And that's kind of what stuff we'll see. Interestingly, you travel through Pyro and you have a ship that fits through small jump points. It's actually one of the faster routes to get through most of the system's opposite side of the UE. Welcome to how CIG developed that jump point system. That's intentional because they want to give players with smaller ships the advantage to use those shortcuts, but also smaller ships are not going to have the fuel range to get through Pyro. So you're going to have to stop and get gas in the wrong side of town. But you can go faster. So The eyeballs are certainly moister. Now, someone did some good comparisons of like the character models in 316 versus the character models in 317 and shows how much better they look in 317. Cannot wait to see what this game does in the gaming industry when it comes out. We'll see. Think of that $20 there, Deepa. It's like driving through St. Louis. It's like, no. It's like driving through Gary, Indiana. All right? Some of them look weird, though, too. Facial expressions. If I recall, the new Crisis doesn't even have Gen 12 graphics yet, and here's CIG is doing with it. CIG is doing good work, yeah. No offense, Joe. If you're going through Pyro, take a cutty. None will even look twice at you. You'll blend right in. I think you got some pretty good stuff there. Alpha Metaverse. I mean, kind of. That's kind of like Star Citizen was doing Metaverse before Metaverse was a thing. So. On that MMO, is it that true? I'm so confused what we're getting. Is it going to be capped at 100 players max? We don't know yet. No, Roboto. Their goal right now is to get to 100 players per server, and if they can, they'll increase it. The issue is more about they don't want to decrease performance by adding more players per server. So they'll reach the maximum amount of players they can put into a server at a time, and then they'll cap it at that without losing performance, and they'll cap it at that. That could be 100 players, it could be 150 players, it could be 1,000 players, it could be 5,000 players. But the nature of the mesh and the shard system, effectively, once they get the sharding in and the early mesh, there will be as many players as you can fit into a shard. I predict that Star Citizen will enthrall as much as it will disappoint people when it's all done. I don't think it'll disappoint people. I think it'll disappoint people who are like wanted to see it fail. Thanks for answering my question. I've seen a few UE5 demos videos, how some of the new tools functions will work, and I found myself saying, that sounds like CIG is already doing. Yeah, because it's what CIG is already doing. The answer is that UE5 is doing a lot of stuff that CIG is already doing, but they're baking it into UE5 to make it so that it's easier to use. That's all. I saw this conversation taking place on Reddit, which linked me to RSI Web's forums, and now I'm here. Oh, nice. I mean, I put it up on there because that's kind of what people were talking about. We were talking about how the performance of, like that comment that was posted by the devs. Well, the dev effectively was saying that your performance or your client performance is not directly affected by the server, though what happens on the server can affect your client, but your FPS is controlled by your client. But welcome, Clay. Development is really turning a corner. Develop is picking up pace, I think. You talked about the character differences. I send the link to the comparison there. Oh, thank you, Dakota. Thank you, Havana Joe. Thank you for that $20. It'll be Test Squadron trying to finally get all their members in one place. Yes. To put you in perspective, give this perspective. Early 3.0 patches had, I want to say, 100 to 120 people in one server. They did it in a test format. Give that $10, Deepa. Oh, a lot of stuff. I vaguely remember 317. Oh, that makes sense. Thanks. Did you get it? I have 11,700K. I think not 12,700K. Yeah, I mean, like, there is some night and day shit going on with 317 if you haven't played the PTU. The performance is kind of nuts. You know, getting 60 FPS in certain parts of landing zones, including Orison. People getting like 90 FPS in Orison. What? What? I have to admit, compared to some of the games released in the last few years, the commitment to updating as frequently as CIG is rare to find with so many studios and devs these days. Yes. I have a 1070 Ti. I need a new graphics, but good luck today now. Yeah, you'll find one. It's just gonna take some time. I think probably by the end of the year we'll probably see more of it in there. You'll just have to dedicate yourself to finding it. When it works, it's great, but it's not playable. They need a little bit more PTU magic baking in the oven. I hope that people upvote the reports. Yeah. Oh, Slyfi, thank you for giving those subs to Perfect Code, Arceus, Jaden Cartel, and Tunox and Romar. All right, so we're coming towards the end of this. I'm going to go get some water so my voice doesn't die. And then I'm going to do a kind of a capsule on kind of should you buy the Expanse or not. We're going to look through the Q&A and we'll talk about that a little bit. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Oh, I also do I keep forgetting I have video stuff to show y'all. I'll be back with like the painting thing I did.
Drugs.
Distress bacon. Two words. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
Drugs.
Good news, everyone!
Drugs. Drugs.
Good news, everyone!
Drugs.
Two words. Distress bacon. Two words.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Drugs. Drugs. Drugs.
Weapons free, y'all!
Drugs. Drugs. Drugs.
All right. So I'll show this off. Holy shit. All right. Audio. Every time I go away, y'all spam that stuff. Expanse is great. Anywho, as is typical, for those of you who are new here, I tend to show off my painting because I do some mini painting and model painting. And I try to do more content with it because I can also write it off as my taxes if I do more content with it. I've mostly been painting 40K stuff, though I do have Star Wars Legion, and I do also have Star Citizen ship models that I have to paint eventually. But I've been working my way through my 40K stuff, and I've had a bunch of... I kind of finished what I needed to for Tau. Like, I've got two characters and 3 vehicles to finish for Tau, and I'm done. And I'm going to go back and finish the rest. I've got a couple of them that are still in sprues that I'll go back and finish at some point, but I'll finish effectively the army. So I stopped, paused, and kind of did some painting for a new terrain set that I picked up recently, which was recently released. So this is the landing pad for it. Pretty big. Yeah, of course, Farside Enclaves. So, my hazard striping is not perfect. It's definitely not. It kind of a little bit off, but it works pretty well at the right distance. I didn't print this. These are from Games Workshop. So I purchased them from Games Workshop and made this. I am going to pick up a 3D printer at some point just because I want to print more terrain and just other stuff as well. So, but Necrons are big. I do like Necrons. If I'm not going to do a Kron army, if anyone's going to do a Kron army, it's going to be Cam. She's finishing up her sisters now, and she has Harlequins to do. But I already gave her Trazen. And we've been listening to lore stuff while we paint, and she like really likes Trazen, the Infinite. So she's like, I kind of want to do a Necron army. So for my mini painting stuff, this is green, so it's hard to kind of really see, but like this is my Tau commander. No shadow type. He is the Ash Ketchum 40K. Cam really likes him because he's like... She likes to think of him and the Necrons as like stuffy old British imperialists who are just like, I have a flag. This is mine now. The rest of you are savages. She likes him because she's like, he's exactly like the he's the embodiment of archaeology from the 19th century. British archaeology from the 19th century. It belongs in a museum that I own. Oh, I still don't know what that's about. 40K is a tabletop war game. Think of it like D&D, but you instead of battling with characters, you battle with armies. And it's usually PvP where you fight against each other. So the Tau are a species. And that's the universe. It belongs in a museum. My museum. But you're stealing it from me. No, I'm preserving it from you. Boo, Tomb Kings in Space. Goji Purecons when they were just all 1,000 led by to the Satan. Thank you. It's not perfect, but it's a good model, I think. Have you heard the word of Blake? Okay, that's what I'll do. When I get my 3D printer, I'll make some fucking BattleTech minis finally, and try to figure out how to fucking play that game, because it's impossible to find those things to purchase them for real life, so I can actually make a lance of fucking mechs I like. Thanks for the Prime sub. I want to see Trazen art with him wearing a fedora. I want to see Trazen's model with him with his man spreading, like where he's just like chilling on the throne with his legs wide. I want to see that as a model. That would be the British. It would be anthropology, exactly, Clay. That's the kind of the what they are. Resin. I'm getting resin. I decided if I'm going to go hard, I'm going to go hard. So it's going to be more expensive, but you're going to get better quality and, you know, better stuff overall. And the goal eventually is to turn that 3D printer into stuff for cosplay, because I want to lose weight. Cam wants to lose weight, and we're going to start doing cosplay together for conventions and such. More mess, yeah. They do, but they're always sold out, Heath. That's the problem. The BattleTech the BattleTech minis are just always sold out, and they sell them in various packs, like, and they're almost always sold out of those. You can get the starter packs, but everything else is pretty much sold out. So if you want them, you're gonna have to 3D print them. Yeah, but that's not the fun, Tentacle. The fun of playing tabletop games is to get the games, buy the minis or print the minis, I paint them up exactly the way you want to, and then play them on a board game with other people. So, like, because Tabletop Simulator is fine, but I could use that to learn the game, I guess. But it's nothing like getting together with somebody, drinking beer, eating pretzels, and rolling some dice. And then if they fuck with you, you can punch them in the face. Sure, Omega, thanks. I know what to do, Clay. I'm already in the process of doing it. I mean, yeah, you could definitely combine digital play, but I know the feeling, heroes, because, you know, 2020, I got into 40K in 2020. I have 3 armies. I've played 4 times in person, and they're all with Cam. This summer, I plan on doing more events and hanging out with more people for locally here in Austin. So, all right. Let's do this review of this ship and piss off some people. Because I'm going to say some things that people don't like. All right, let me get the right Q&A. That's not the Q&A, that's just the ship. All right. Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. This is a tiny segment of my longer Office Hours videos where it's a live stream where we talk about all things Star Citizen, take questions from the audience about lore, about other things, and we just talk about the news of the day. Today, as the title and the YouTube thumbnail probably says, we're going to talk a little bit about the Expanse Q&A, which recently came out, and answer the question, should you get the Expanse? So let's look at the Q&A and see what we can understand from it. Join me. All right, so this was released earlier this week. I'm going to go through each of these questions and answers. So, what are the benefits of using a refinery ship compared to the station-based refinery? The most obvious benefit is that you have the refinery on site, meaning you won't have to take long trips to a station all the time. Another benefit is that on-ship refining process is planned to take less time in a station, since you will be full control of the process. You'll also be unaffected by the refinery ship's occupation level when it's being used by other players. Ultimately, we love players to come together to form industrial fleets in mining, refinery, salvage, and transportation ships protected by fighters and gunships. So, right off the bat, we can learn a couple of things. Number one, refining is going to take less time in person than in stations. You're going to also not have to worry as much about the queue, as it were, for refineries, which is why it takes so long now if you're all using the same one. And they're also this is not really planned as a solo ship. This is not a ship that you will solo with your like mining ship. You won't just like have both of them out there and swap over. The goal is for you to use the Expanse as it's a single person ship, but you use it with other people in group play. So right off the bat, I can say, if you're looking for this as a solo ship, probably not a good idea. How long will refinery take using the Expanse compared to station-based refinery? The aim is for you to be relatively fast, skill-based process. If you know the material you want to refine and you know how to properly process it, it should be much faster than big refineries. Also, you'll be refining much smaller quantities, globally speaking, per job than a station refinery would. But you're going to do it faster if you know what you're doing. So I imagine some sort of skill-based system similar to mining. I wouldn't be surprised if you have to use things like reagents and refining stuff. And effectively, for those of you who don't know how refining usually works in real life, you often have to melt away or pull away impurities to get at the actual pure stuff. And that's going to leave a smaller quantity than you had at the beginning. But it's going to be, better quality or better for you, better product overall. I'd expect something similar to that. Will the Expanse have a safe storage for volatile ore? For example, if I put raw quantanium in the Expanse, will the time to destruction halt? No, the Expanse currently does not have safe material storage, so volatility will not be bypassed by storing it on board. However, it should halt when the refining process begins. So no, it won't stop the volatility timer from going down. But if you are refining it, it will stop in the process of refining it. So it won't blow up while you're refining it. But don't make sure that you time it properly, basically. Will there be a mini game for refining like we have for the other professions? If so, can you share any details? We don't call it a mini game. We don't do that here. No mini games. They're mechanics. Since the mechanic will be a little bit more complex than that, we will have a general idea of what we like the player-driven refining process to look like. This isn't final and is subject to change, but the current idea is, first, you'll pull the refinery stack from the delivery mining ship with a tractor beam and attach it to the intake socket. Ooh. Saucy. Make sure you have the right Barry White playing when you're hitting that intake socket. Then you'll analyze the materials based on the findings. You must decide which refining process you want to use. You'll pick either a preferred method with limited direct interaction or the manual approach, which will have you directly interacting with the material through interactions like grinding, melting, dissolving, and more. Our goal is to allow you to decide how much effort you want to put into it. So you could take the easy way and pick a well-known method, or you could come up with your own refining recipe. So a little trial and error, trying to figure out, but I'm sure there'll be guides on how to do it best with a simple automated process or a process that you have to manually kind of sort through. I would gather that the more hands-on you are and the better you are at the hands-on, the faster you'll be able to refine. Will we be able to begin the refining process, then store the Expanse via ASOP terminal without interrupting refining process? No. The refining process is an active profession, so you'll have to pay attention to it. It isn't decided yet, but storing the ship could halt the refining process, reset it, or lead to the materials being wasted. This is something that's important to remind people. CIG is very much against passive income. Anything that allows you to just kind of sit back and let the game work for you is not something that Chris Roberts likes. So this would likely not be the case anyways, but that's the case. You cannot just store it and have it finish like you can do with other refineries. Because in theory, while the refinery is running, you need to be maintaining it. You need to be nearby it. It's not just an automated process. All right, what materials can the Expanse refine? The current aim is to expand to have every raw, unrefined material be refinable. So all minerals, gases, and metals, including scrap. So we'd like to refine gases into fuel. We'd also like to refine gas into fuel. So it's a one-stop shop. It can refine materials. This is also one of the first references that scrap itself is going to be a material you have to process at a refinery, which makes sense. And also another kind of mention that it's going to be able to refine gases. So if you can gather gases and dump it into the Expanse can then refine that into fuel as well. So it's a pretty versatile little ship. Is it compatible with the Argo Mole, Grey Cat Rock, and Drake Vulture? The Expanse's plan to refine the vast majority of output from vehicles above. So it shouldn't matter where the unrefined material comes from as long as it's set up the refinery matches the materials refining requirement. However, we're still looking into FPS mining and Grey Cat Rock as these methods output gems might need to go through a different process than refining. But either way, they're planned to receive purpose in crafting. All right, cool. So yeah, it can work with all of the different aspects. Again, mentioned the Drake Vulture, so salvage. However, it does look like that the Grey Cat Rock and like FPS mining will not be processed using this. So that may be a different thing. Will refining consumables, fuel, catalyst, reagents, etc.? Oh, well, will refining require consumables, fuel, catalyst, reagents, etc.? Refining will likely require some of the power, catalysts, and other reagents. We plan to have your refinery be able to craft catalysts and reagents if you have the proper materials on hand. So not only can you produce stuff, but you can also craft the things you need to refine. That's nice. We're almost done here. This is a lot. Go down here to see this. Wow, it is a lot. All right. Will refineries require power from the ship to operate, thus increasing hydrogen fuel consumption when in use? Yes. It'll be turned on the power plant. It's pretty easy. Why does the Expanse have a single small shield when most ships its size are better protected? Due to the energy-intensive nature of the refinery process, the compromise was only having a single small shield to allow the ship to have full shielding while refinery processes are undertaken. However, the Expanse's current armor is above average for its size class, so the lack of second shield won't mean it's necessarily weak. That falls in line with the idea that this is going to be used as a multi-person ship. It's being used, not necessarily multi-person, but used as part of fleet operations. You're relying more on other people to defend you than your own shields. Could you explain in broad terms how the SAC system, where your refined materials are deposited, will work? You might already be familiar with the sacks from the Prospector and the Mole. They're called sacks now, okay. Where you have the storage units located in the side that fill with ore as you mine. They expand as they're filled and can detach once full. They can be picked up by other ships and containers, contents transferred for further processing. So it's important to remember that the systems on the sides of those ships that you see in the Mole, I think if you can see up here, these right here are sacks, but notice how they're different sacks from these. So these are where I guess the processing comes out of rather than input, which is through here. When the Expanse receives raw ore via container, does it reuse the same container when delivering the refined materials? Are the Expanse's 8 saddlebags detachable? Yes, we plan to allow players to reuse the sacks that raw materials were brought in and refill them with refined materials. The current process is described below, though it could differ from upon release. A prospector delivers a sack of unrefined materials, which you successfully attach to your Expanse's intake socket. You can either move the containers directly to your reactor or store it in one of the sacks on the side of the Expanses to be refined later. These are storage? These are supposed to be storage? Huh. I thought those were the outputs. Good to know. If you directly refine the material, you can move the material back to the original sack via the intake socket. However, you'll first have to rinse the sack to prevent any refined materials from building up impurities. You can also swap the sack at the intake socket for another before refining is complete. Be careful though, the intake socket is very weak connection and will not hold the sack in place during travel. The Expanse's saddlebags are planned to be detachable, so another ship could potentially pick them up. Looks like that maybe those are the intakes. It's important. That's something to kind of think about a little bit more. Obviously, it's not finished up though. What's the total cargo capacity for refined and needing to be refined material? Can it process 64 SCU worth of ore, but also have 64 additional SCU in its saddlebags? Already refined. Like the Prospector and the Mole, the Expanse utilizes the same folding sack design that allows the second set of pods to be stored on board in a compressed state. By default, there are 8 pods expanded, given the SC4 capacity, and 8 pods compressed above them, given the additional 64 SCU capacity, once the initial 8 pods are detached. I don't see any 8 pods above them here. Maybe just not there. So I guess there's just another kind of decompressed. So there's 16 sacks. If the Expanse is able to hold raw ore in waiting beyond the 6 jobs it can run at once, if so, or wait. 12 sacks. I don't know what I was thinking. So if the Expanse is able to hold raw ore in waiting beyond the 6 jobs you can run at once, if so, will it automatically start new jobs in waiting without input from the player. We plan to allow you to store some amount of material directly into the reactor or in the attached sacks. However, it will not be refined until you actively start the process. Okay. Is a system being planned to allow players to charge for ore processing, like refueling from another player's Starfarer? Yes, we plan on having a selling purchasing system where players are able to sell their unrefined material in the Expanse, which will then be refined and sold on. We'll also allow you to add a fee for refining. Brochure illustration shows a pod loading in 0G via tractor beam. Will this work on a planet where the gravity is a factor? Yes, that is the current plan. Obviously, these are all things that are going to change. So, what can we glean from this Q&A? Well, first of all, this is not a ship I would purchase if you are a solo miner. This is a ship if you perhaps work with a mining organization or have several friends who are miners and one of you needs to run as a refinery. And the reason why you'd want to run the refinery is because it cuts out the middleman, will be less time, probably more effective, and probably overall make you more money in the process. Or more and better resources. That the process is going to be complex, but also have simplified versions. And there'll be a full process for not only like refining materials, but like mined materials, but gases and salvage as well, salvage components. It's very interesting. This does seem like I would probably get it if you are, especially if you're a mining organization, if you're part of a mining organization, or if you're very into, because it's also important to remember that in the future, things like the Pioneer will need materials to be able to fuel its production. So if you want to build a station, having one of these nearby, a Pioneer, would probably be a good idea just to process materials that you could then load into the Pioneer. If you're a salvager or you run salvage operations, this is probably a good idea. If you don't have a reclaimer, if you're just running a vulture, this might be a good option as well. Pretty good. I would say, especially for its price, it's not a bad option. And if that all sounds right to you, then I'd say, take a look at picking it up. Otherwise, wait for it to come in game and see if it happens. Thank you for watching this. If you enjoyed this, make sure you hit the follow button. If you want to see me do more of these sorts of reviews live, let me know in the comments below. I never know with these capsules if they're good or not, if you like them. And if you don't like them, I can, stop doing them. So, but I always like to experiment and do a little bit more. I haven't really done a ship review like this. So, hey, let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, like it, subscribe for more content for like this, and join us on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, live talking with chat and hang out and ask your own questions and join us for the discussions of the day. And like I say every time, remember, I was going to say extra story I had restaurant. It's the wrong outro. Like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. CS said that the Vulture will not be created repair material that can be stored on ship. Yeah, they said it will be. They said you will be able to create repair material that you can use used for hand material, hand repair to repair ships, but it won't be a repair ship itself. Just do all the outros. One might be my correct one. Yeah, I can make the goo, which then you can then load into your hand repairs and then do that. "16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt." Yes, I love that song. "St. Peter, don't you give up my soul to the Hurston store." It's an active process to empty a sack. Yes, it is. We all know. Everyone with the sack will tell you it's an active process. The Expanse should be a very profitable ship. It reminds me of the processing skill in BDO. You basically take stuff and make that stuff more valuable and sell it. Yeah. I saw that. I saw that people were showing that video off. I wouldn't be surprised. And I think it probably has other factors than just the Ryzen 5 5800DX. Because I've seen 100 plus FPS with my rig with a 11700K i7. But it's also factors like your RAM, your SSD, your GPU. Those will help. "There are many beasts in lore, sources in lore. Do you expect that we'll be able to encounter and interact with these creatures?" Yes. I think every creature that you hear about in lore that has some sort of detail about it is definitely going to be something you can experience and interact with. It's just CIG needs to improve a lot of the back end before they can start adding in the creatures. It definitely, I could see NPCs flying this. I could even see this as a traveling salesman, where like if you're mining in an operation, you have a probability volume of one of these things just showing up and hailing you and being like, "Hey, buddy, you need a refinery? I'll give you a discount." You know. I think sandworms will come into the game, but I think sandworms is more of a macro scale. I think seeing things like the pyro crab and the boreal stalker and the ranta. And the Kazi grazer and the blind oni crab, the xyphlopods, all of those creatures will probably more likely make it until the sandworm, because the sandworm, as far as I know, is only found in Lear 2. I imagine that insects will probably be more of a texture thing rather than NPC. What summer thing do you think Jared was excited about on Twitter? I think it's whatever we saw at the end of ISC. Okay, I can't spell. It's all right. I get what you're saying. Do you think we'll have a new ship called the Bandit, which will be intended in the Paris Special Edition, a whole series called the Smoky? Yes. I don't doubt we will see Smoky and the Bandit in verse as NPCs. Hope at some capacity we'll get a Star Citizen version of the Fuel Rats with players flying around in Expanse and Starfarers. I 100% believe it. Though I don't think you can refuel with the Expanse. Make sure you get miners' approval before handling their sacks, otherwise the authorities will be contacted. Fuck you, Omega. Hey, Snark. I can't drive 55. Thank you for the 54 months, buddy. I think space will be needed if you are far from the refinery station if you want to do a Quantanium. For sure. In places like Stanton and Pyro, if you're doing Quantanium mining, you're going to need one of these ships, yes. I can see the Expanse supporting Starfarers, vice versa. Yeah, it's important to remember that likely Starfarers will probably get the ability to refine everything at first, and then eventually they'll tier back the ability from being able to refine everything to just refining fuel and Quantanium. You know why CM fuel? Because you touch yourself at night. That's why CM full. The new mining items you will need nothing as far as I've seen. What do you mean? Yeah, the new mining items are pretty good for pretty much everything. Even on like rock deposits and hand mining deposits, they can do pretty well. Would it be too easy? I don't think it'll be too easy. I think it's an example. Those gadgets are an example of being able to plan properly, because in order to make that work, you're going to need to have access to those gadgets and lots of them. And it's probably going to be a slower process to EVA out, attach those gadgets, go back into your ship, and then mine. It'll make it easier overall, but that's the process that you need to do. And then at the end, you just have to purchase those gadgets because they're one-time use. It seems that many of the large ships are essential org ships, and that fully crewed, fully functional in all aspects of, will suit team play scenarios for sure. And there are definitely some smaller ships like the Expanse and the gosh, there's another one I'm forgetting. The Vulcan, which are smaller crew or one crew ships, which will definitely fill out org roles a little bit more. They're not reusable depending on Pop the Rock. I don't know. I haven't used them yet, so I don't know. But I imagine that there's going to be a limited use for them. Also, it's important to remember that Quanta is in game for 3.17. So that means that I wouldn't be surprised if 3.17.1 or especially 3.18 will get more Quanta added. And I remember them saying that one of the first things they're going to add for Quanta after the initial offering is going to be refinery. So gone will be the days of your Quanta mining being the most powerful and valuable thing. Soon enough, probably before the end of this year, you're going to have, Quanta's value is going to drop if everyone's doing Quanta. So you're going to see less and less returns. So you're going to have to start mining other things. Yeah. Don't get used to it, buddy. You may love your Q mining, but don't get used to it. It's just gonna break your heart. So fluctuation in that market would be a quantum fluctuation? Yes. Do I think Corsair will be released along with Pyro or sooner? Probably sooner, but yeah. I do love to know what the capacity difference between the Expanse and the Starfarer refining. Starfarer is much bigger, so I'd imagine that the Starfarer can refine much better. I'm looking forward to having reasons to mine other things, yeah. Well, we've really messed up things when inert materials becomes a more valuable asset. Yeah, NPCs will definitely matter more than players, but if a player starts dumping a ton of Quantanium, there's going to be an upper limit where they're just going to say no. Or sure, we'll buy it for nothing. So the value is going to go down over time when you start dumping stuff out. All right, y'all. It's getting late. I've been streaming for over 3 hours. Thank you all for watching here, this live at the Astropub. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully, to do some Star Citizen content. I may take tomorrow off again. I've basically been waiting for my Fridays to come back once 317 launches, because I have no real desire to play 317 PTU for, content. So I'll keep you updated. I'm definitely coming back on Saturday. And on Saturday, we're going to be talking about... we'll be Captain's Table. We'll definitely be playing the game before we do Captain's Table. And the Captain's Table, we're going to talk about, 317, the wear and tear stuff from ISC, some of the other news from ISC stuff. But the main content we're going to talk about is the customizable stuff in Star Citizen. What does CIG do right? What does CIG do wrong? And what should we see the changes in the future? Things like clothing and character customization and like the personalization options. Because as everyone knows who's ever played an MMO, the actual end game is always fashion. And people spend a lot of time making their characters their own. So hopefully there'll be a discussion on that kind of stuff. Who's going to be on the Captain's Table? We're going to have a new face. Who's Astral Gemini. And we're also going to have Humek, who's been on another table that we did earlier. So it's her and Astral Gemini, and then we're talking about customization. So, and Humek does a lot of YouTube stuff, so it'll be interesting. There we go. Gotcha, Chief. Sylvester's coming with All Talk Fashion. I'll ask if she wants to come on, but that's what we have right now. That's probably a good person to talk to, honestly. Good night. Yeah. Good night. Have a good night, y'all. I will be back. And then, of course, on Sunday, we'll do more content. Starting soon, I do want to make this semi-announcement. Right now, every month, we do once a month, we're doing the Shran stuff for the Spice Must Roll. If you like tabletop content, tabletop RPGs, you like science fiction and tabletop RPGs, The Spice Must Roll, youtube.com/c/The Spice Must Roll. That's my other channel where I do a lot of that, post out that content. We usually record it once a week. We're going to be starting up a new campaign soon, a brand new campaign. It's at least going to run for about 5 sessions. It's just going to be a one-shot, which maybe people return, maybe not. It's going to be using the Wrath and Glory system, and there's going to, which is the 40K, the latest Warhammer 40K RPG system. I think only one person in that group is returning from previous episodes or from previous series. All of them are brand new. All of them are 40K fans. So it'll be very interesting to do that. I've already been planning out the campaign. So I don't want to announce all the announcements yet because we're still kind of working on to make sure the dates line up. Right now, the plan is for the end of May, we're going to do the first episode. And then from the end of May to the end of June will be the series. And so like the end of June, early July will be done. So hopefully you'll be around for that one as well. I'm too broke for 40K, stuck with 20K now. None of them will survive. All right, y'all. Like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.